Oh, hello, everyone. This is Dr. Garrett Smith, also known as the nutrition detective around these here YouTube parts. And today, this is something I've been kind of thinking about doing for a long time. Sorry, I'm late to those of you in the chat who were waiting. If you're fairly new here, I'm generally starting late. I have a touch of that little ADHD that when I start going down rabbit holes and putting things together, I can't help myself, and then I get behind, and that's, well, you get to benefit with all that here. So today, I was supposed to have testimonials, but I didn't have time to get those ready. I mean, I had like 6 testimonials, and I just didn't get them ready. Sarah got them ready for me, but I didn't finish them up before we were going to go. So we don't have those today. Actually, somebody I saw in the chat, let me see, said that they had recently started on this, and they think that the advice given here is bringing them back from near death. And that would actually be the second person in about 2 weeks who said that. Another person said it on Twitter. And yeah, Thief on the Cross. Yes, he said, or he or she, I don't know. Hi, everyone new here. I'm pretty sure this doctor's advice is slowly bringing me back from near death. So this is what we are trying to do here. This is, yeah, Elijah, well, I'll get to that. So yeah, so that's great. That's what we are here for. This is, and I'm guessing that you might have been following a lot of health advice that's out there. That's what we undo. So glad to have you here. And, you're welcome, Elijah. Elijah brought up, Dr. Smith, bring up Godis/Severage with a 3 some days, a good example of who not to listen to or to follow. And I know you saw earlier, or you said earlier, Elijah, that he's like bright red. Just a tip, folks. If your health guru, Maha or carnivore or juiced up king of the livers, if the person you're following is red, tan or not, they're probably not healthy. Redness in Chinese medicine is a big sign of what's called liver heat. It's a bad sign. You know, we all know the old alcoholic nose, where it gets kind of big and puffy and red, and then the rest of their face gets red, then the rest of their body gets red. That is that's just a sign of toxicity. We can look at alcohol as an indicator of the progression that the liver goes through as it's slowly poisoned. Now, somebody told me to bring this up more often. Don't forget, alcohol, ethanol, is an alcohol, right? Retinol, vitamin A, is an alcohol too. So is tocopherol, vitamin E. So is cholecalciferol, vitamin D, and also the form of vitamin D called calcitriol. So they're all alcohols. And I've worked on research showing they all turn into aldehydes, which aldehydes are generally, if you go and you talk to AI, which I don't do often, but somebody did it, AI basically told them all aldehydes are toxic. And then the person said, well, what about vitamin A? And they go, oh, no. Vitamin A you need. Wait until you see the paper in here talking about retinaldehyde and a reduction of the number of people. A warning in a scientific paper. So let's just get started. Joe, let me share. I don't know that it's on the right one yet, but let's get started in this. And let me get back to the right window, and we will be, I don't need this. Here we go. Okay. So first, this first Twitter post. This is just, I've been over this before. I have a video. So there's this thread on Twitter where I go over birth control pills, what they do. Ladies, one of the reasons your health got so messed up, whether it's hormonal health or otherwise, your mental health, your hormonal health, your reproductive health, just everything, is because of what birth control pills do to your liver. And one of the things they do to ruin the rest of your health is they raise vitamin A in your blood and they raise copper in your blood. This is, well, Elijah says, I refuse to date women on birth control. Do not date women on birth control because, first of all, if the research has shown that women like different men when they're on birth control than they would otherwise. So you don't want to date a woman on birth control because she won't like you when she's not on birth control. She likes different men when they're on birth control. This is real research. So, and I found out the hard way. I actually married a woman who was on birth control, and then I got her off of it. And then eventually we ended up with just the exact outcome that I just described to you. So, and hello, Kelsey. Wonderful to have you here. And Beth, good to have you here. Thank you for guesting on the show, Beth. I actually wanted to say I did talk to Grant Genereux over email this last week, and we are going to do that 10th anniversary show. Today, I'm going to set the date for it. So that will be exciting. So anyway, so part of how birth control ruins health, I mean, it damages the liver, but the other big thing it does, cholestasis, which is toxic bile leaking into your bloodstream. What's in toxic bile? Vitamin A. What's in toxic bile? Copper. So these things are directly related to infertility. Birth control causes infertility. It raises these toxins in your bloodstream. It raises the bile in your bloodstream. So I'm just setting this up. Female fertility ruined by vitamin A and copper, okay? The other thing about fertility is generally as we get older, right, infertility goes up. It becomes harder to get pregnant. Did you know in the research, I don't have this research today, but I've shown it before, serum retinol, blood vitamin A goes up as you get older in general. This is in the research. And serum copper, the amount of copper in your blood goes up as you age. Infertility tends to go up as we age. Do you see a pattern? Okay, so let's keep going now. This is my old video on that thread. So if you want to watch this video, it's my old video. You can compare how I look back then to how I look now. A lot of people do that. This was 5 years ago. So yeah, you can probably see that my face is like a completely different shape and got more hair and I mean now than I did then probably. So anyway, let's keep going. Wait. Oh, Joe says we're having some pausing. Hold on, Joe, let me see if I can close some things. Let's see. Oh, yes, we can close Zoom. Good old Zoom. Oh, is the webcam too far down? Okay, let me see. There we go. That's better. Sorry about that. Here, let's do just a wee bit more. Okay. Sorry, am I sitting up too straight, too tall and straight today? Anyway, okay. So we're back to this. So this was this is just one of those papers. Effective oral contraceptive progestins on serum copper concentration. So remember, there's a copper IUD, folks. Copper IUDs induce infertility. So the effect of copper on fertility should be very obvious. And some people will say, well, it's affecting the sperm. Oh, you mean copper affects sperm negatively? And it does affect how the sperm penetrate the egg. So it's affecting female fertility negatively. This is all connected. So the very fact that they're trying to get you to drink out of copper cups now, there's a big push for that. I just saw the lunacy on Twitter the other day of somebody selling a copper infused pillowcase. And I posted about how melanoma, skin cancer, is associated with high copper in the blood, and there's high copper in the cancer tissue. Gosh, let's put our face on copper. So don't wear copper clothes. Don't drink out of copper cups. Stop taking any copper supplement, please. Yeah, Kelsey just sent me this. She did. So, while elevated serum copper concentration was found in all users of all types of oral contraceptives, all users of all types, elevation was more pronounced among women taking oral contraceptives with anti-androgen effective progestins, like anti-androgens or third-generation oral contraceptives containing desogestrel. Guys, I'm going to go over progesterone as part of the infertility PSYOP. I want you to see here, why would progesterone be particularly bad for men? People say progestins aren't progesterone. No, they are extremely powerful pharmaceutical form of progesterone, but they bind to progesterone receptors, so they're doing what it does. Anti-androgen. So anyway, further investigation is required to show. I'll go over progesterone. I'll show what real progesterone does to male hormones. So real progesterone, if you're taking it, guys, oh my gosh, you're just ruining your manliness. And you can kind of see it in the Peters, who are the guys who do that. Further investigation is required to shed light on the possible role of high serum copper concentration in increasing cardiovascular, that's heart disease risk, or thrombotic blood clot risk of women using oral contraceptives. Gosh, do you think the induction of liver problems and copper toxicity would cause problems in women? If you haven't seen my heart disease series of 2 videos, you should go watch that, because I go over copper in that as well, and vitamin A. High serum copper concentration, too much copper in the blood. A well-known effect of oral contraceptive use has been linked to increased mortality from cardiovascular disease. So I want you to pay attention here. They say it's well known that oral contraceptives raise copper, but this is a different statement. High serum copper concentration has been linked to increased death, risk of death from heart disease. So we're linking 2 things here. Birth control raises blood copper. Higher blood copper is associated with more death from heart disease. Okay, so let's keep going. So I'm just trying to set this up before we get into how bad this is for men, because the infertility PSYOP, it's much easier to show it. I mean, with women, it's very obvious. Copper IUD makes them infertile. We're going to go over vitamin A and copper today in a big way. So what are they going to do to men? What I want to go over today, first of all, to set up the rest of the infertility PSYOP, is one of the major mechanisms that they do, or that they want to do to you, is ALDH inhibition. Aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibition. Now, we just talked about how ethanol, right, alcohol is an alcohol, and retinol is an alcohol. And these go through ADH, alcohol dehydrogenase, to turn into aldehydes. Acetaldehyde comes from alcohol, and retinaldehyde comes from vitamin A. Now, they can say they have specific ALDH inhibitors, and that's what pharmaceuticals try to do, right? They try to say, we're very specific. These things have huge effects everywhere. So what you're going to see in the studies is you're going to see that the studies are going to try to claim that if you inhibit retinoic acid synthesis or biosynthesis, so they're saying here, inhibition of retinoic acid biosynthesis. So how would you do that? Well, what happens is retinaldehyde goes through ALDH to turn into retinoic acid. So they inhibit ALDH, and they don't make retinoic acid. And they assume, with a giant ass at the front of it, they assume that you need retinoic acid to make sperm and to do these things. But what they totally ignore is that you're building up aldehydes. You're building up retinaldehyde, you're building up acetaldehyde, you're building up formaldehyde, you're blocking your aldehyde detox. Aldehydes are toxic. Aldehydes are toxic to sperm. We're going to go over that. So what they're really doing by trying to create a male contraceptive is they're trying to poison you with aldehydes by blocking ALDH. And then they're going to claim that you just don't make retinoic acid. So I'm going to be showing this on the infertility PSYOP. I'm not going to go over on this. I'll go over this quickly on each of the follow-up episodes, but I'm going to go over the things they are recommending between Weston Price and the Peters and this new, what was the other one? Oh gosh, I'm not remembering it right now. They're going to inhibit your sperm. They're all inhibiting your sperm. And when you look around, infertility is everywhere. They are winning. The health nuts are doing this worse than anybody else. And so what do we have? We have good results with fertility. We fix infertility because we are avoiding these problems and we are fixing the problems. So I want you to understand, when they say inhibition of retinoic acid biosynthesis, they mean we are inhibiting ALDH. By the bis-dichloroacetyldiamine win 18,446. Does that mean they had to make this many of them to get to this one, right? Markedly suppresses spermatogenesis, the creation of sperm, and alters retinoid metabolism in mice. It blocks the detox of vitamin A. Okay? Let's go find this part. Here we go. I figured out how to make it go away. There we go. When 18446 strongly and irreversibly inhibits the retinal dehydrogenase ALDH 1A2 in vitro, so that's a cell study, alters vitamin A status. It's creating retinaldehyde toxicity is what it's doing, and blocks spermatogenesis in mice. Now, this next part is really, really important. Irreversibly, so this means if it irreversibly inhibits this enzyme, that means it's broken. That the enzyme that it affected, like, so you have one little enzyme, floating around, and this comes and breaks it. So it doesn't mean it breaks everything forever, but it means it breaks it so that one is broken, and you have to make another one to replace it. Does that make sense? Like if you break a spark plug in your car could still drive, but it's not going to drive right, and it's not going to work again until you replace the spark plug. Does that make sense? And no, I'm not a mechanic expert, but hopefully that makes sense. You break a part and it's broken until you fix it. Pay attention to this part. Inhibition, reducing the effectiveness of spermatogenesis by 18446 cannot be reversed by oral retinoic acid supplementation. Cannot be, so they say, the bad guys out there who are trying to make you infertile. So they inhibit ALDH, which makes more aldehydes. And they claim that you need retinoic acid to make sperm. That's their claim. I say you don't need retinoic acid to make sperm. We don't need vitamin A for anything. They block ALDH. They're building up aldehydes. They're creating toxicity. Oh, they tried to give retinoic acid? Shouldn't that have fixed it? Oh, it can't be reversed by that. So I guess retinoic acid deficiency wasn't a problem. Do you understand what they just said there? So that's very, very, very important. This destroys the whole, you need retinoic acid to make sperm, because when they blocked it and then they gave it, nothing got fixed. Okay, let's keep going. What are they going to do to women now? Can inhibition of retinoic acid biosynthesis function as a non-hormonal female contraceptive? I bet it can. So, same thing here. This inhibits retinoic acid biosynthesis. It inhibits ALDH. It reduced pregnancy compared with control. However, one animal became pregnant with malformed embryos. Would that be like basically birth defects? They barely got pregnant, and their birth defects are already happening. What is the one vitamin you're supposed to avoid during pregnancy? Ladies, vitamin A. What's another thing that causes birth defects that's related to vitamin A chemically? Alcohol. What do both of those turn into? Aldehydes. What does WIN18446 block? Aldehyde dehydrogenase. So you don't detox alcohol, you don't detox retinol or retinaldehyde. WIN18446 treatment significantly reduces fecundity, but teratogenicity. Let me just get the definition for you guys so you see it, so you understand. I'm not making up words here or making up definitions. The state of being fertile, capable of producing offspring. Fertility. Oh, sorry, I didn't show the tab. Anyway, here it is. The state of being fertile, capable of producing offspring. This significantly reduces fertility, but teratogenicity, birth defects, in the setting of contraceptive failure, limits the appeal of this approach to female contraception. Okay, so yeah, it's going to make you infertile, but if you do get pregnant, you're going to have messed up babies. So it's not very appealing, right? You have a breakthrough pregnancy and you have a deformed kid. So let's keep going. Now, just while we're here, this is a post I think I went over before from Mike Roberto. 2025 study out of China, I believe. Young women's ovaries destroyed by high vitamin A intakes. More retinol, fewer viable eggs in the ovaries. Is this making sense yet? Higher retinol intake led to significantly lower follicle counts, meaning fewer viable eggs, especially in the highest intake group. Now, if this was China, I think it was. No, this might not be China. That's definitely not a Chinese name. Anyway, antioxidant intake and ovarian reserve in women attending a fertility center. They're already infertile. They're already infertile. And then they look at their vitamin A intake, and their eggs and their ovaries are worse the more vitamin A they eat. Okay. So let me open this up so we have it so you guys can just see it. If you want to look at the title of the study, antioxidant intake and ovarian reserve in women attending a fertility center. So are you catching on yet that vitamin A is a fertility poison? Let's keep going. Johnny Du Rosario says, so zinc with some copper is bad. Never take copper. Never. You do not need it. Adding copper to zinc supplements is a direct counterattack by the infertility PSYOP. They're trying to say, oh, you're going to take zinc? Well, we're going to poison the well, and we're going to make sure you take copper with your zinc. There is no copper deficiency around. You want to watch my, I don't remember which one it was, Joe, but the copper deficiency live stream I did. Okay, emerging concepts in male contraception. Guys, they're going to make you sterile. Guess how they're going to do it? A narrative review of novel hormonal and non-hormonal options. Okay. So what do they call it? They call it inhibitors of retinoic acid. Oh, there's supposedly a testicular retinoic acid receptor. Well, what they are is RARs. RAR, retinoic acid receptors. They named a receptor. So I want you to understand here, you need to be smarter than they are. They name a receptor the retinoic acid receptor because retinoic acid stimulated it. That's it. That doesn't mean it's made only for retinoic acid. Now, if you want to go back and watch Joe, I linked this, the molecular evidence that we don't need vitamin A. There are 7,500 things in the database that activate the RAR, the retinoic acid receptor. It is what you would call a promiscuous receptor. This receptor loves everything, including fatty acids. And if I believe it was the RAR where I showed you didn't have to have anything to stimulate it. It could self-stimulate, you know. So it's probably pretty important if 7,500 things can stimulate it, including a bunch of fatty acids. Just fat can stimulate it, or nothing can stimulate it. Well, then, don't you think that if they block that receptor, it's probably got some function that may not have anything to do with vitamin A? Yeah, Joe posted the molecular evidence video. So they call it retinoic acid inhibitors. Is it an inhibitor of retinoic acid or is it an inhibitor of ALDH? And they say male mice with knockouts of the retinoic acid receptor alpha are infertile. They knocked out this receptor that is promiscuous. It's got a purpose. Like just because women can put vitamin A on their face and take copper and maybe their skin looks better short term, well, they're getting cancer and autoimmune disease down the road. So these receptors do things. You can do, the whole basis of conventional medicine, people, is to take a poison that helps you short term with your symptoms. Just because we called it copper and vitamin A doesn't mean it's not a poison. And it doesn't mean that it can't look good short term and kill you earlier long term, just like we talked about with the copper and the heart disease. Okay? So here we go. We're going to show you aldehydes in general cause infertility. Unfortunately, when one of the inmates obtained access to contraband whiskey, they became incredibly ill with what was later identified as a disulfiram reaction. Do you know what disulfiram does, folks? It inhibits ALDH. That's the main thing that it does. They try to give it to Lyme people to try to reduce their symptoms, and it messes people up. It might help them short term. Gosh, is there a thing called the duration paradox we talk about here all the time? And then it ruins them long term. They are purposely shutting down their detox. Note, it shuts down ALDH and these key 4 letters here. Sulfur. Di. 2. Sulfur. Sulfur inhibits ALDH too. Okay. This is due to the mechanism of the drug, targeting aldehyde dehydrogenase 1A2 in the testes to block the production of retinoic acid. Off-target action. So these are all the side effects, all the unintended consequences of it. Off-target action on aldehyde dehydrogenase 2 in the liver causes accumulation, there's that word, of serum acetaldehyde with the associated systemic symptoms. So you're building up other aldehydes in your system. It's not just retinaldehyde. The use of WIN-18446 was ultimately abandoned, but recent attempts have been made to develop retinoic acid receptor antagonists more specific to the testes. This is not, WIN-18446 is not a retinoic acid receptor antagonist. It's an aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibitor. Okay. Let me see if there was anything else on this one. Oh, and here's how you make their contraceptives not work. So, what causes their sterility agents to not work? This suggests that factors such as hepatic metabolism, your liver actually works. Higher plasma protein binding. You're making things that bind to vitamin A to make it less toxic, like, oh, I don't know, retinol binding protein and cellular retinoic acid binding protein. You're able to protect yourself from the toxicity better so it doesn't work. Or decreased testicular permeability. Oh, wait, you mean you don't have leaky nuts? Wait, we can't penetrate your testicles. They're keeping out the poison. Oh, we must fix that. We must make your testicles more permeable, more leaky. They just told you, if you're too healthy, if your liver works too well, if you bind the poison, which is what antibodies are, folks. If you don't know what antibodies are things that bind to poisons. Or decreased testicular permeability. You don't let the poisons in well enough, are decreasing the bioavailability of the alpha selective agents. They're telling you if you're healthy, the contraceptives are not going to work very well in you. Okay, so let's keep going. Oh, let me get back up to the top. A phenotypic screening platform utilizing human spermatozoa identifies compounds with contraceptive activity. So we just went over disulfiram. I wanted to go over some other interesting things that they do in this one. I don't know if we need this one. To address this deficit, we developed a fully automated robotic screening platform that provided quantitative evaluation of compound activity, so how well the drug is working against 2 key attributes of human sperm function: motility, the ability to move, and the acrosome reaction. Amongst the confirmed hits were the aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibitor disulfiram. In order to test reversibility, washout experiments were performed. Only a small recovery of motility was observed after washout of disulfiram. So they had to wash away the disulfiram to get things to work again. What does disulfiram do? Blocks ALDH. You build up aldehydes, which are toxic to sperm. Retinaldehyde, toxic to sperm. We're going to go over that. Oh, and then they also did, the fun thing in this study was the control compound was DMSO, dimethyl sulfoxide. So they're already giving that there was, you can go and look at the paper if you want. So they do disulfiram, disulfur, dimethyl sulfoxide. Sulfur slows your detox, folks, at ALDH. Can show you the research. Okay. But they use, instead of, when they didn't use disulfiram, they used DMSO. It's kind of like doing the vaccine trials where they give the normal vaccine and then the control group is the vaccine with everything except the virus in it. Okay, so they give the adjuvants, they give the toxic adjuvants, they give these other things. And so you're not really getting a true control. They're already inhibiting ALDH. And then they add another one on top of it. And it gets worse. Okay? So let's keep going. Male contraception. Where do we go from here? Oh, we're so desperate to make these men infertile. What are we going to do? Okay, so I'm going to do a whole show on TRT as part of the infertility PSYOP. The use of either testosterone alone or a combination of testosterone and progesterone seems like a promising male pill for men. TRT is getting pushed everywhere. But I want you to understand something. TRT does not work as well as it needs to. It works really well in Asian men. TRT is only works about 60% as well in Caucasian men. But you know what works better in Caucasian men? Testosterone plus progesterone. We'll go over progesterone. I might have a whole show on it. It's just a disaster. So, for instance, there are other potential products under intense investigation in the field that target either the events of spermatogenesis in the testes, e.g. the use of retinoic acid synthesis inhibitors, ALDH inhibitors. Notice how they try to make it positive. Retinoic acid synthesis inhibitors instead of calling it an aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibitor. And retinoic acid receptor antagonists. Remember, these have huge effects. And it has very, very little to do with vitamin A. To block retinoic acid function, the use of analogs of indazole 3-carboxylic acid to perturb spermatid adhesion in the testes. You know what azoles tend to do? See that key word? So ketoconazole has tons of research inhibiting testosterone. Azoles inhibit ALDH in general. Weird that they would be using something that inhibits ALDH and finding that it causes problems with the sperm, right? What are the other azoles that are getting pushed right now? Fenbendazole, mebendazole. Or by occluding sperm transport in the vas deferens. So they're going to block the sperm tube, basically, okay? With RISUG, reversible inhibition of sperm under guidance, which is a copolymer of styrene, maleic anhydride, and guess what? There it is again. Dimethyl sulfoxide. Weird that keeps coming up in infertility agents, isn't it? That induces sperm membrane disruption once sperm come into contact with RISUG, which is surgically placed in the vas deferens to induce reversible infertility. It doesn't reverse as fast as you might think. Okay. Let's see. Oh, not this one. Oh, this was the, sorry, Joe, I'm just looking at a different window. And we don't need that one. Okay, so let me just show this one. This is a YouTube video where the guy's talking about, here, let me get back to the beginning of it. Come on. Let me refresh this so we can see the first image. There we go. Oh gosh, come on. Let me refresh it and then stop it real quick. Oh, anyway, did you see that? Hopefully you saw that at the start. How a male contraceptive pill could work. That was how a male contraceptive pill could work. And they're going to talk about retinoic acid biosynthesis. And, you know, it's just, they're going to poison you. Okay. So now, This is another post of mine, again on ALDH. So I kind of went over it, but if you want to see more, these are just some of the things. Slowing ALDH causes aldehydes of all sorts to bottleneck and buildup, including retinaldehyde, acetaldehyde, formaldehyde, malondialdehyde. Oh, copper. The more copper you have in you, the more malondialdehyde you make. Other, as I put it here, smelly things, herbs, spices, and essential oils. What are some of the common things being pushed on us for health reasons that are significant ALDH inhibitors? Ivermectin, vitamin D, turmeric, high sulfur foods like DMSO and other stuff, polyphenols. This is in the research that they inhibit ALDH. Vitamin A, hydroxychloroquine, methylene blue, azole meds, pesticides in general, caffeine, nicotine. What is being pushed on us from all angles? Oh, the other one was the company that the company of wellness. The company of wellness is pushing tons of these. So here's a quote from a paper that I link here. Oh, we'll go to that one. Let me go there, actually. No, that's not the right. Is that the right one? I'll just open it up. Okay. So here's the quote. I'll open up the paper. Unexpected retinaldehyde dehydrogenase inhibition by reducing chemicals. This includes, I put here, I add, reducing chemicals would mean antioxidants. Antioxidants slow detox. Can potentially cause abnormal early embryonic development. These chemicals can cause reproductive toxicity in animals. Therefore, monitoring and management of RADLH inhibitors are required in order to resolve the potentially emerging concerns regarding both the aquatic ecosystem as well as human health. Did you know that methylene blue is considered pollution in the water? But somehow health influencers now want to sell it to you as a mitochondrial booster. And it inhibits ALDH incredibly. And as I'll go over when I do the methylene blue part, it inhibits sperm function. What a weird coincidence. ALDH inhibition, sperm function. They're talking about ALDH inhibitors being in the water causing problems. And methylene blue is considered a pollutant in the water. Do you see the patterns emerging? Pay attention to this part. Adverse outcome pathway is a conceptual framework describing the biological causal linkages across a molecular initiating event, a poison in the environment, due to chemical exposure, key events in response to a molecular initiating event, and adverse outcomes at the individual or population level. In 2020, a new adverse outcome pathway, inhibition of retinaldehyde dehydrogenase, leads to population decline. Let me read that again. Inhibition of retinaldehyde dehydrogenase leads to population decline was registered in the adverse outcome pathway wiki, and it described, quote, the toxicity of RADLH inhibitors due to their potential adverse effect in the developmental process. Remember earlier when they said that the ALDH inhibitor caused embryo defects, birth defects in the womb? They always tell you what they're doing, don't they? They always tell us what they're doing. Why are all these health organizations pushing aldehyde dehydrogenase inhibitors? Let me open up this paper. Where was the paper? Oh, it's down here. So just, I think I have this paper somewhere in the list of tabs, but this is the paper, retinaldehyde dehydrogenase inhibition related adverse outcome pathway, potential risk of retinoic acid synthesis inhibition during embryogenesis. Vitamin A is the one vitamin you're really not supposed to get too much of during pregnancy because it's known to cause birth defects. Retinaldehyde is the big thing that causes birth defects. I am now on board. Like Grant wrote his book and he was assuming that, the damaged retinoic acid causes tons of problems. But did you know that if you start making too much retinoic acid itself inhibits ALDH? So is it possible that most of the retinoic acid problems are because you slow ALDH and you start building up more and more and more aldehydes? I am a huge believer that retinaldehyde is the big problem, more so than retinoic acid. I mean, if you guys who took Accutane and Retin-A, I'm not going to say that those are some of the most horrible drugs out there. Absolutely. But what are most people who are getting vitamin A toxic having a bigger problem with? Retinaldehyde. Why do we focus on improving or restoring ALDH so much? Because that's how we get people better. Okay, let's go into this one. What does vitamin A do to your hormones, guys? Because the big part of the infertility PSYOP, let me go over the two parts to it. The first part was the pokies. Run by the government, free, herd mentality. Who did they get with that approach? Mostly the left and mostly women, because women want to be accepted by the herd mentality, the group mentality. Women are much more susceptible to that. And then the leftist guys were definitely going along with that. Okay, so now that part's over. That farce has mostly run its course. The people who are still getting them, I mean, what are we going to say about them? Not going to make it. Okay. Then they need to work now on the right, which is capitalist, which is more masculine, which is, I'm going to do my research and I'm going to find this stuff and I'm going to take it. And there's still a group mentality. There's absolutely still a group mentality. Oh my gosh, if you're on social media today and you can't see the group mentality on that side. So what are they doing now? They have to sell people the poisons. They have to convince people to buy their poisons because these are capitalists. Right? Self-determination. That's the psychology of this whole thing is outrageous when you watch it. So they couldn't do the same thing to the right that they could do to the left. And they had to do it in phases. You can't do it all at once. So you demonize one side, so then the other side goes, oh, well, I don't want to do that. We're going to get healthy by doing these other things, which are poisons that they're paying for. They're paying to make themselves sterile. That's what it is. So they also tend to have, comparing the left and the right is going to have more testosterone. So what do they also need to do? They need to destroy their testosterone, because testosterone would be the hormone of resistance, especially DHT. They definitely have to ruin DHT. So here we have effective retinol and retinoic acid on testosterone production by rat Leydig cells in primary culture. I want to go over one thing first. Oftentimes in cell studies, you can get the opposite effect in a cell study than what happens in real life. Okay? So cell studies, it's part of the duration paradox. They do things in cells and they're like, ooh, the cells do this. This is all of the mitochondrial garbage that people are following. They're like, ooh, the mitochondria did better. That's a cell study. And then in real life, I'm sitting there going, the long-term evidence is it's poison. Okay? So pay attention here, because we're going to see the duration paradox, I believe, in this paper. It was found that both retinoic acid and retinol stimulated testosterone production. Cell study, right? Although retinol was less potent than retinoic acid, because it's more toxic, retinol had a greater efficacy. When these retinoids were tested in the presence of a maximal dose of luteinizing hormone, which would be in your body, right? So when they put something else that's in your body there, what happened? It was found that retinol inhibited LH-stimulated testosterone synthesis. So more in the real world, vitamin A would inhibit testosterone as they add more normal stuff to it, whereas retinoic acid had no similar effect. These results demonstrate for the first time that retinol and retinoic acid have a direct effect on Leydig cell steroidogenesis in culture, suggesting that retinoids play a role in the maintenance and regulation of Leydig cell function. Oh, LH-stimulated testosterone synthesis was inhibited when they added retinol. Yeah, good. Good luck with that. So wait, you need vitamin A to stimulate testosterone production, but when vitamin A is there, the testicles make less testosterone from the same signal. Oh, it's going to get worse. It's going to get much worse. Oh, wait, I wanted to throw this in here, but guys, progesterone is directly attacking your masculinity. Retinoic acid enhances progesterone production via the CAMP PKA signaling pathway in immature rat granulosa cells. Our results demonstrated that ATRA, this is retin A, this is typically what in the research they call retinoic acid, enhanced progesterone production. Guys, you don't want that. By upregulating the levels of steroidogenic acute regulatory protein and cytochrome P450 mRNAs, but not 3-beta-hydroxysteroid dehydrogenase mRNA in an immature rat granulosa cells. Okay. High progesterone, guys, is directly anti-testosterone to both your brain and your testicles. We'll get to that in the progesterone episode, though. Oh, this was the paper. This was the paper we were just looking at. Yeah, so we're going to skip that one. And testosterone and progesterone level alterations in the adult rat after retinoid, as in retinol or retinoic acid treatment imprinting in neonatal or adolescent age. There are long-term effects from these things, folks. Parents, gonna be parents. How toxic you are when you get pregnant or are even nursing afterwards is going to affect your children potentially for the rest of their lives if they never fix it. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to fix the damage that was caused, that was handed down to us, and then that we continued along with. Newborn rats were treated with a single dose of vitamin A or with 3 doses of retinoic acid in the first, 3rd, and 5th days. Serum testosterone and progesterone level was measured in the 4-month-old male and female rats, respectively. So they gave them these doses right soon after they were born, and then they measured them at 4 months. Retinol significantly decreased both hormone levels, testosterone and progesterone. However, retinoic acid decreased the progesterone level only. In the second part of the experiment, adolescent rats in the 6th and 7th week after birth were treated and measured similar to the newborns. In this case, retinol significantly diminished testosterone level without influencing the progesterone level. Retinoic acid decreased testosterone level and elevated progesterone level. These results demonstrate the long-lasting effects of retinoid treatments at a neonatal or adolescent age, pointing also to the differences in the direction of the effects. Considering that previously the receptorial and sexual behavioral effects of perinatal, this is during pregnancy, vitamin A treatments were observed, the experiments call attention to such harmful influences of perinatal vitamin A treatments, which are not manifested in morphological alterations. They're saying you can't see obvious birth defects, but it's screwing up hormones. 3 doses of retinoic acid or 1 dose of vitamin A 4 months later. So retinoic acid supposedly doesn't store. It's water soluble. So it causes damage to your ALDH and your liver, and that's how it affects things down the line. Okay? Oh, wait, retinoic acid, an inhibitor of 5-alpha reductase in human prostatic cancer cells. Guys, you need to understand, men especially, DHT is not the cause of hair loss. DHT is not the cause of prostate problems. If that was true, young men would have these problems, not older men. Okay? There's so many logical flaws in the DHT thing. Why would they not like DHT? Because DHT is actually the form of testosterone that is the most masculine. It is the most important one. So why would they want to inhibit it with hair treatments and prostate treatments? Why do they attack DHT? Because they don't want you to have it. Wouldn't that be a weird coincidence if retinoic acid inhibits 5-alpha reductase, which is what turns testosterone into DHT. So testosterone becoming DHT is a good thing. You don't want to inhibit that. So they were talking about using this in humans. Although the severe toxicity of retinoic acid precludes its systemic use, as a 5-alpha reductase inhibitory drug in humans, the possible anti-androgenic effect, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. We'll see if we can avoid it. Okay. Of other less toxic retinoids should be investigated. So what are they saying here? Anti-testosterone, anti-DHT. So retinoic acid is not only severely toxic, it inhibits 5-alpha reductase, which is what makes DHT, but the other vitamin A forms are also anti-testosterone. And all these guys on the internet are like, you got to eat liver to have good testosterone. No, you don't. And copper's anti-testosterone too. Oh, this one we already did. Okay, so let me go switch to this one, and I'll delete this one. Okay. Now, this one just says it all, doesn't it? Long-term dietary intake of excessive vitamin A impairs spermatogenesis in mice. So they want to inhibit ALDH, so you stop detoxing vitamin A, and they want you to take in more of it. Because what does it do? It inhibits your sperm production. So they were giving some vitamin A excess, VAE. At 10 weeks of age, the retinol concentration, the animal vitamin A concentration in the testes of vitamin A excess mice was significantly higher than that of control mice. They're accumulating vitamin A in their testicles, which would happen with natural vitamin A too. I mean, anybody who wanted to deny that it's just lunacy. Testicular cross-sections from control mice contained a normal array of germ cells. They weren't poisoned. While the seminiferous tubules from vitamin A excess mice exhibited varying degrees of testicular degeneration. Daily sperm production in vitamin A excess testes was dramatically decreased compared to that in control testes. Sperm viability, motility, and this is how well do they work? How well do they move? Are they normally shaped? Were also impaired in vitamin A excess mice. Furthermore, we examine the effects of vitamin A excess on the expression of genes involved in retinoid signaling and spermatogenesis to determine the underlying molecular mechanisms. Therefore, we are the first to present results describing the long-term dietary intake of vitamin A excess impairs spermatogenesis using a mouse model. You take in too much vitamin A. It's retinol and then retinaldehyde and retinoic acid. Do you remember how I told you an excess of retinoic acid will inhibit ALDH? That's birth control. That's a contraceptive. You start inhibiting ALDH, you start building up retinaldehyde. You build up retinaldehyde, your sperm go to heck. It's all the same thing. Oh, this was the one. Yeah, I already did this one. Don't think we need this one. So let's share this one. We'll get rid of that one. Now, I just wanted to throw here, I didn't do this at the start, but I've been over this multiple times. I have a video on this, I believe. Bill Gates loves vitamin A. What does Bill Gates not like? People. Bill Gates supports giving pokies and vitamin A injections and vitamin A containing prenatals and genetically modified rice called golden rice and genetically modified bananas and biofortified foods, which is foods that are made to like biofortified cassava. They're making this cassava. I don't know if it's true genetic modification or if it's just hybridization, but they're trying to get the cassava to grow more vitamin A in it. Bill Gates loves vitamin A. Bill Gates does not love people. Contraceptives, birth control, are you following here? They know what works. Okay, so now the next one. So that thread should be linked in the thing. Impact of endocrine disruptors on sexuality, a pediatric aspect. So let's go find the one that I want here. I'll make this a little bigger. I mean, so we're talking about here, let's just look at these. The perinatal program is not the last when endocrine disruptors can influence the development of sexuality. Are there issues with that today? As the system is very sensitive during adolescence, and continuously dividing cells can also be imprinted during the whole life. I want you to understand where vitamin A is going to be put into this whole, I mean, vitamin A is coming in with endocrine disrupting chemicals. Like, look at this list of things. As was mentioned, the number of endocrine disruptors is enormous and impossible to study all of them. However, there are some groups which deserve special attention, and some members of them are studied, supposing that other related members of the group have similar effects. Toxins of a feather flock together, right? So bisphenol A, or BPA, represents phthalates and phenols. Polyphenols, plant antioxidants. DDT is representative of pesticides. Dioxin and benzpyrene are pollutants of the air. Genistein and daidzein, soy. These are soy polyphenols. Polyphenols, also known as phytoestrogens, from soy. As representatives of phytoestrogens and diethylstilbestrol, DES, and vitamin D. As representatives of drugs. Vitamin D as a representative of a drug. That's an interesting statement. Okay, let me see. I'm going to come back to these on another show. Sexual activity of adult rats treated neonatally, newborns, with vitamin A or D3, as well as with vitamins E and K, were depressed or completely inhibited in adult age. Sexual activity was depressed or completely inhibited in adult age. Now, I didn't look into what form of vitamin K they use, because the form of vitamin K they use could be very important, like K3 is completely synthetic and is a poison. MK7, which is the form most people are using for vitamin K these days, MK7 is a PGP inhibitor. I think I forgot to look up PGP inhibitor research on sperm, but as Kelsey educated me to, PGP inhibitors are almost always ALDH inhibitors, which means that if something inhibits PGP, it inhibits sperm. MK7 inhibits PGP. So we don't use MK7. We use MK4. For those of you who are using the old vitamin K that I used to use, which is MK7, this is something I learned along the way. And if you didn't know this yet, move to MK4. Our vitamin K supplement, our pill, is about to come out soon. And then we're going to work on a liquid too. Okay, so sexual activity of adult rats treated as newborns with vitamin A. Gosh, feeding your kids cod liver oil maybe? Or the mom taking cod liver oil? Were depressed. Sexual activity was depressed or completely inhibited. Gosh, do we have a problem with like incels today and with men and women not getting together like they should? Everybody going, oh, I don't need to have sex for the rest of my life. I'm fine. That's not good. That's not a good sign. That's not normal. That's not the way you were designed. Doesn't mean you have to be lustful and running out and trying to do everything you possibly can. It just means, like, if you have no libido and no desire for sex, there's a problem, most likely. Okay? The secular trend of European and American youth is becoming earlier related to the last century. So they're hitting puberty earlier because of all these toxins in their system. The precocious puberty is more frequent, and the change is supposed to be due of steroid hormone-like compounds in the human environment, in foods and waters. I can tell you that I was actually very, very proud when my daughter really didn't hit her menarche, the start of her menses, until she was 15. Other people were getting worried because they're, oh my gosh, this is too late. We got to go get it checked out. And I talked to one of my family members who suggested we go see a gynecologist about it. And they're like, we should go check this out. We should see if anything's wrong. I said, what do you think they're going to do? And they said, I don't know. I said, what they're going to do, they're going to put her on birth control. And I said to her, I said, you know, the other women in the family who got put on birth control and how it messed them up, right? And she goes, yeah. I said, you want to do that to my daughter? She goes, no. And I said, okay, then we'll just keep waiting. And then she started. So don't poison your kids with birth control. If the girls have cramps, they're toxic and deficient. Actually, I've just been working on a new, like, kind of focused approach that fits the LYL principles for women's health issues in general. I finished that mostly yesterday. I just got to put all the hyperlinks in it, and that will be out in the Love Your Liver program soon. It's not totally, I mean, it's not the program's changing. It's just, ladies, if you know you have hormonal or menstrual issues or whatever, these are things to focus on, or other things that you might do that aren't listed in the Love Your Liver program. So that should be coming out soon. That's not going to be any extra. That'll be in the program. Well, Chris Unhurted says, I'm 63, not too concerned about fertility. Haha, this is a very important concept. Fertility is health. Health is fertility. Infertility is poor health. Poor health leads to infertility. So while somebody's 63 doesn't need to be technically fertile, I mean, first of all, a man should still be fertile at that age. Now, women are generally going to have hit menopause and they're not fertile at that age, but we had, I'm not going to say the name, but we have a person in the program, a woman who was in her early 70s, who went to her doctor, and this woman is not having any of the, so like as women get older, they tend to have self-lubrication problems and other issues with, you know, these women are lacking estrogen. They're not making their hormones like they're supposed to. So they start getting atrophy down there. Things start, you know, kind of shriveling up, and they get very dry. This is a normal thing. So my client goes to see her gynecologist. She's having a great, you know, she's having fun in her private life. I'll put it that way. And she has no issues down there. And we helped her fix like her lifetime of constipation. And she's doing really well. And the gynecologist does his thing and says that her lining was too thick, and that he thought she should have a DNC where it's all scraped off. And she asked me about it, and I said, how thick was it? And she tells me the number. I don't remember the exact number. But then I go and I look at what a healthy young woman is supposed to have. So in older women, they expect them to have a very thin lining because of the hormone thing. And they say if they have a thick lining, then they're probably heading towards cancer or other things like that. Well, I talked to my client. I said, do you think that's happening based on all your symptoms? Like you're doing so much better and everything's working really well and everything's going really well. And she said, no, I don't think that's happening. Her lining was the correct thickness for a young woman. Her doctor hadn't seen this because no one in their 70s is healthy like my client is. We are blowing apart the norms by making people healthy in today's sick world. So, hold on, let me see if I want to read anything else here. Okay, let's move on. Come on, ResearchGate. Some of them are, okay, yeah, so somebody was saying they're butchers, talking about doctors and stuff like that. They do what they know. Oh, come on now. Give me this page. I'm going to go and put this into a new window and it's going to work. And there we go. ResearchGate is kind of weird. Okay, so now since we're talking about vitamin A, let's go into, oh, I just got rid of the tab, didn't I? Yeah, I got it, Joe. Not quite yet. And this one. Here we go. Now, you guys know I'm not a big fan of carrots. Look at the title of this paper. Carrot seed for contraception. What do the repeaters like to eat a lot of? They like to eat their carrot salads. Almost none of them have kids. Just a weird coincidence. The use of carrots, well, the seeds of wild carrot, Queen Anne's lace, have a long history of use relating to fertility, especially as an anti-fertility agent. The use of carrot seed for contraception and abortion is recorded throughout European history with contemporary reports from India and the United States. Scientific in vivo, in actual animals and humans, and ex vivo studies suggest that several modes of action may contribute to the anti-fertility effect. So, we're just connecting things. These are just patterns. Now, people will say, "Oh, eat organ meats; they're good for you." Well, what are organ meats, especially liver, really high in? That is, we now know is bad for fertility. Vitamin A, and I'm going to go over copper. Most people, when you see what you're going to see here is that when they say organ meats, did I highlight this one? No. Let me find the part. Men who consumed organ meats. What is the most heavily consumed organ meat? Really, folks? It's liver. Like, liver is way above everything else. The men who consumed organ meats had significantly lower progressive sperm motility and higher luteinizing hormone levels compared with men who did not consume organ meats. Do you remember what we just went over with the retinoic acid and the LH? Okay, so LH is the signal from your pituitary to your testes, guys. It is the signal from your brain, basically your pituitary, saying make more testosterone. Okay? It's the signal to make testosterone. So like an example that most people are familiar with, right? You make TSH, which goes to thyroid stimulating hormone to go to your thyroid to tell your thyroid how much thyroid hormone to make. TSH being lower means that you might be hyperthyroid. You have too much thyroid hormone around and your brain saying, hey, we don't need so much. It's sending less signal. Okay. Whereas high TSH, the pituitary is sending the signal, make more thyroid hormone. Please, it's saying signal, make more if you can. Okay. So we just went over how LH, when there was retinoic acid or retinol in the cell culture, the LH didn't work so well. Now we see that when there's organ meats high in vitamin A and copper, their sperm sucked and they had higher LH levels because the signal's not working. We just went over that. So if anybody wants to say, oh, natural vitamin A is totally different, natural copper is totally different, bioavailable copper is the biggest horse shit concept I've ever seen. If you look up bioavailable copper on PubMed, the only thing you'll find about is copper toxicity. So let me see. Hold on, Joe. Let me look at this real quick, what you sent me. So let me check. Joe is saying that my mention of Mr. Gates, the link he tried to put up, didn't show up in the chat. Weird. Why would they want to suppress that? So anyway, so organ meats are toxic too. Food vitamin A is toxic. Oh, wait, let me give another example. This is Steve Gadecki. He's a big fan of LYL, and he's on Twitter. Listen to his testimonial. This is what happened to us, except from eating beef liver every week for a year or two. Stopped eating liver, had babies. Stopped eating liver, had babies. What else do we need? We got the science. We got the cell science showing reduced LH stimulation. We got the organ meats. We got a real person saying that they stopped eating liver and they had babies. What is liver really high in? Vitamin A and copper. What do birth control pills raise in the blood? Vitamin A and copper. What are they studying as contraceptives for men and women? Vitamin A, things that affect vitamin A and make you more toxic in it, and copper, as we're going to go over. Okay. Oops. Whoa. Where am I? Hold on. What just happened?
Please stand by. Dr. Smith will be back with us shortly. Something appears to have happened. I'm sure he'll get back into the stream shortly. Until then, you are watching the Love Your Liver live stream. And this is episode 190. The Infertility PSYOP.
Joe, I'm back. Am I back?
You're back.
Okay, great. I don't know what I did. I clicked something twice and all of a sudden it just disappeared. So that was totally my fault. Okay, so let's go share. Let's get back. Sorry about that, folks. Sometimes I get too excited and I click my mouse too many times. Okay, here we are. Cod liver oil. The quote here from this paper, Biological Activities of and Requirements for Polyunsaturated Acids, from 1971. The rats fed cod liver oil were sterile. What does Weston Price claim? Oh, you need vitamin A for fertility. So if you want, you can, I think I had to download this. I didn't have there's no link to this on the internet. So I think I have the PDF of it somewhere. But yeah, there was other stuff here. What happens to animals that are force-fed cod liver oil? Suppression of growth. Yeah, somebody was commenting on Twitter the other day about how all the kids are so short these days. All the kids are like, they're minis. They're not growing the way they should. Leukopenia, that's low white blood cells. Hemorrhage of the myocardium. That sounds a lot like myocarditis, like inflammation of the myocardium. Huh. I heard about that in relation to something. Degeneration of the heart muscle. Did you see my heart series? Edema of the lungs. Necrosis, tissue death of the liver. Slogsvold observed that cod liver oil poisoned cattle with stiffness. Anybody out there stiff? And muscle lesions as symptoms. In another study, the toxicity of cod liver oil in calves was manifested as a severe muscular dystrophy. And that final one, the rats fed cod liver oil were sterile. Organ meats, cod liver oil, carrots. Oh, I think I already did this one. So I already went over birth control. Birth control raises vitamin A and copper. I already said that. This one we'll leave that there. Okay, now we're going to go into copper. I'm going to try to do this a little faster. You know me. It's just so bad. Development of a copper male contraceptive, contribution of India. And they're trying to get everybody to the copper revolution and the protocol out there and the people, drinking out of copper cups and wearing copper clothing and wearing copper grounding shoes. Grounding shoes aren't bad. I forget the brand. There's a brand out there that uses silver. If you want grounding shoes, get the one that uses silver. Do not get the one where there's going to be like a copper coin size thing on the bottom of your foot. Don't do that. Don't wear copper bracelets. Stop putting copper on your body. If you have copper water pipes, for your drinking water especially, you need to have a reverse osmosis or a distiller. And then if you have that for your drinking water, at least, if you have plastic water pipes going to your water heater or whatever, or you have copper water pipes, it doesn't matter. It gets that crap out of it. So everybody's worried about the pipes. Well, if you filter your water properly, the pipes become a non-issue if you filter it at the point of use. So aspermatogenic status of copper is recognized. Let's just do that just so everybody has it. Aspermatogenic definition. Severe impairment of spermatogenesis, the creation of sperm, where germ cells are completely lacking or present in an immature form, leading to sterility. I don't know why they mean in approximately 25% of patients. Because if your germ cells are completely lacking, you're sure not getting anybody pregnant. Oh, sorry, I didn't show the screen. Sorry, here it is. I'll use AI for these definitions sometimes. That's about all I'll use it for. And sometimes it'll point up a link to a study. That's about it. Do not let AI become your thinking, folks. And I know a bunch of people use AI all the time. And they're like, I don't let AI do my thinking. No, if you're using it all the time, you're letting it do your thinking. The toxicity of copper on tissue is a great concern for the continuation of this program. Recently, a hypothesis for a slow death by 1,000 cuts, delivery system of copper for functioning as aspermatogenic and spermatostatic was mooted. They abandoned it. They tried a slow delivery and they still abandoned it. They suggested that copper immobilizes or makes so it can't move spermatozoa. Other Indian researchers implanted a copper wire, does this sound familiar? In the vas deferens of rats and rhesus monkeys. Many sperm below the wire were immobile, and thus the animals were sterile. In some studies, azoospermia was achieved. The damage to tissues varied. The damage to tissues varied from none to proliferation and desquamation. This is peeling of epithelial cells. So the cells that line all around your body. So epithelial cells, your skin, epithelial cells like on the inside of your blood vessels, that's epithelium on the inside. Anything that's a tube in your body, the inside of it is epithelial cells. Other researchers introduced the copper wire outside the epididymis or medially in the scrotum, with the results being the same, as in toxicity. Copper iontophoresis in the vas deferens of rats, rabbits, and rhesus monkeys induced sterility. If I'm remembering correctly, iontophoresis is where they use, I forget if it's magnet. I think it's a magnetic charge to drive. Let me just go look it up. Just so I'm sure, so I'm not saying they're same. I was a PT tech way back in the day, and I'm trying to remember. It drives drugs into the skin. Yeah, iontophoresis is a process of transdermal drug delivery by use of a voltage gradient on the skin. So they're using a voltage gradient like electricity to drive the compound in. Okay? Copper is very conductive, very electric. So they did it on the outside. Gosh, how would you absorb copper from like copper clothing or copper cups? Well, you'd absorb it through the skin. Copper iontophoresis just speeds it up in the vas deferens of rats, rabbits, and rhesus monkeys, induced sterility. The toxicity to tissues due to copper concerns all of the researchers. The authors suggested a slow delivery system to limit copper exposure to minimize copper toxicity. Copper accumulates. So all they're saying is they're just killing you slowly instead of ruining and breaking apart your testicles by putting copper right directly in it. Copper IUDs are ruining your daughters and your sisters and even these days your mother maybe too. I used to think copper IUDs, when I was in naturopathic medical school and I didn't know anything about copper, I used to tell people, well, just don't do the hormonal IUDs. The copper one is better because it's a natural mineral that we need. I used to think this. So for those of you who made these mistakes, we all made the mistakes. So again, copper intravas device, IVD, and male contraception. So this is another one of these studies that these things were based on. Let's see. Treated male rhesus ejaculate. So their semen, their showed 15 to 35 times increase in copper levels. 15 to 35 fold increase in copper levels up to 10 months after the insertion of the copper IUD. So it just keeps accumulating copper. Do you see how it's accumulating copper? What is the body trying to do with this copper? It's trying to get rid of it. This is not a good thing. What I have heard from men on the program is they say that the period of time where they had kind of like the biggest addiction to porn and masturbation was when they were really, really toxic. And some men have shared with me that their ejaculate was actually more yellowish during those times. And now it's more whitish. What do we not like? We don't like yellow things. So we have seen that your body, if you are really toxic in your testicles, your body's own wisdom, could your body try to tell you to kind of be excessively horny and go masturbate to get rid of toxicity? Why not? You detox through your sinuses, you detox through your sweat, you detox through all the tissues of your body. How would a man's reproductive tract detox? This sounds weird to talk about, but it's there, okay? So what happens? Shouldn't all this copper be making the sperm healthier and better? Semen analysis showed an increase of dead sperm up to 50% and decrease in the percentage of motile sperm, the ones that could move around. Wow, look at that, 70 to 80% down. Or I'm sorry, this is how mobile they are. So 10 to 30%, only 10 to 30% were still motile. The control was 70 to 80%. Fertility studies using treated male rhesus of proven fertility. So he was working before this from the breeding colony, mated with cycling females of proven fertility. So they should have been able to make babies. Showed highly significant reduction of fertility up to 13 months. Reduction in fertility of the treated rhesus was also significant up to a period of 23 months. A reversal of contraceptive effect and increase in sperm count and motility is observed after 13 months post-treatment. So they had to take the wire out. 13 months after it, they finally got their sperm working again. You see how I say this stuff accumulates? It's not just about, did you eat too much copper today? It's the things that we do on a daily basis that turn us into what we are. We accumulate things. We accumulate trauma. We accumulate copper. We accumulate vitamin A. If we do things where we're like positive about things and we pat ourselves on the back and whatever, we start accumulating positivity. So you can accumulate good things or bad things. You start taking the right amount of zinc supplements. You start accumulating zinc in a good way and fixing deficiency. So, right, the things we do on a daily basis is what makes us what we are. If we poison ourselves on a daily basis with things like vitamin A or copper, you accumulate it. And it took 13 months for that copper to go down enough that they could actually fix the sperm. Advanced nanobiomed research. Ooh, this is I don't want anything to do with this. Copper is known to have contraceptive properties and has been used clinically for decades as intrauterine conceptive devices for contraception in females. Copper causes infertility in women. Herein, the size, concentration, and time-dependent in vitro inhibition of bovine, that's cow sperm, by copper microparticles are studied. The effectivity in inhibiting sperm motility is correlated with the amount of copper ions released by the particles during incubation. So the more copper there is, dose dependent. The more copper, the worse the sperm are doing. The copper particles cause direct suppression of sperm motility and viability upon incubation, and thereby show potential as sperm inhibiting, hormone-free candidate for male contraception. In addition, biocompatibility tests using a cervical, as in the cervix, cell line help optimizing the size and concentration of the copper particles for the best spermicidal action while hopefully avoiding toxicity to the surrounding tissue. Again, effect of copper ion on the motility, viability, acrosome reaction, and fertilizing capacity of human spermatozoa in vitro. I think we already went over this in the other paper. Results showed that copper, listen to this, at concentrations similar to those released from IUDs, affects the fertilizing capacity of human gametes, that's sperm, in vitro, and interferes with the sperm oocyte. This is the sperm to egg interaction leading to fertilization. So not only does it inhibit sperm, but it inhibits the sperm fertilizing the egg. These effects suggest that the principal action of copper released from copper IUD is to act as a preconception contraceptive agent when delivered in endometrial and oviducal fluids. So the copper is coming off of the IUD. The makers of these things love to say that you're not absorbing copper from it. Oh, you absolutely are. That's how this works. It's a local effect. Like the poison is most poisonous where it's most concentrated, right in the cervix. But that doesn't just stay there. It goes into the whole system. Review on copper on male reproduction and contraception. I want to pay attention here because some people say, oh, you need copper to make sperm. Whenever you see this, the findings of different authors are somewhat contradictory. That means, and you know it's a poison, that means you're dealing with a poison that some researchers were insisting on trying to find it was necessary and good, like vitamin A. It's like when the symptoms of vitamin A toxicity and vitamin A deficiency are the same, and we know vitamin A is toxic, then we know it's just vitamin A toxicity. The researchers just don't know what they're looking at. How long have we known copper is toxic to sperm? The toxic effects of copper on spermatozoa, which was demonstrated in 1850, 175 years ago, by Quatrefages, is that how you say it? I don't know, has often been confirmed. Copper reduces the oxidative process in glucose consumption, which reduces or abolishes mobility. This property is exploited in intrauterine devices. The use of copper for male contraception has given rise to experimental implantations at various sites within the male system. Lumen of the deferens, epididymis, seminal vesicle, scrotum, and the mobility of the spermatozoa was abolished in all cases. Tissue toxicity makes it impossible to use this method in human practice. Somebody asked, why is it so toxic in men and not as toxic in women? Well, okay, you have to understand the male reproductive system is kind of a bottleneck, right? There's not the area that things can go in and out of your reproductive organs, guys, is pretty small down there, right? There's not a lot of blood flow in and out. But when you're talking about a woman's abdomen and all of her reproductive organs, there's tons of blood flow everywhere. This stuff can escape. But in a guy, the escape route is very small. Does that make sense? You can't get rid of the toxicity fast enough. And I don't think your testicles are really designed to have to detox that much. So I don't think there's anything else on this one. And then we got one more last one on this. I don't know if I need to read this. Oh, let's just hit on the ones that we haven't already hit on. So we're talking, this was copper, a possible male contraceptive. And again, they mentioned 1850. Copper has been introduced by injection and iontophoresis. Usually sperm were immobilized, sometimes decapitated. I hadn't seen that term here. Usually sperm were immobilized, sometimes they were decapitated. Copper affected the genital tract by inflaming or infecting the vas deferens, reducing the size of the lumen, so it makes the tube smaller, or the height of the ciliated epithelium. Injection of copper into the testes halted development of spermatocytes and spermatids, but had no effect on the Sertoli, which is the sperm cells. The Leydig is the testosterone or spermatogonia cells. Thus, it would be feasible to introduce copper into the male tract by designing a slow delivery system such as Celastic or a biodegradable slow release system that would not have to be removed by a second surgery. Possibly this system would be effective even if placed in the scrotum. Remember, they put DMSO in those. So that's the copper one. Now we just have this one. I'm going to go over. Well, I'll come back to this one. Joe, we're skipping ahead to the next window. This one, toxicity and uptake of heavy metals by human spermatozoa. So some people go, well, why don't you talk about heavy metals? And I'm like, because we know they're bad. Do I really have to spend a lot of time on this? Don't take in toxic metals. Get the fillings out of your mouth. Like, don't eat chocolate because it's full of cadmium and lead and copper and polyphenols and like, don't do toxic metal things. Okay. Wait, I love this. This is like the apologetics. Low concentrations of ionic copper caused a less marked fall in sperm motility, although the metal was generally more toxic than zinc or cadmium ions. Do you know that you need zinc to detox cadmium and copper? So the less copper you had, the less the sperm couldn't move well. Do you see how many negatives they're using? They're using like, so you could change this. High concentrations of ionic copper caused a higher fall in sperm motility. And copper was generally more toxic than zinc or cadmium. So what a very important thing about zinc and copper and cadmium, so here we have, they're talking about heavy metals. So is zinc technically quote unquote a heavy metal? Yeah, you don't hear me use heavy metal as a term much because heavy metal is kind of like, it's not as descriptive as you want to be. You want toxic metals. Okay. Zinc is necessary for 200 processes in your body. At least. Zinc is really, really important. Now, is your body going to do? Your body is going to grab on, your body has spaces for heavy metals. Zinc and copper and cadmium all kind of fit in the same slots in your cells. It's just a way to think about it. If you don't have zinc and your body is exposed to copper or cadmium, you're going to put copper or cadmium in the zinc slots. You're going to fill those slots is what I'm saying. It's like an apartment complex is going to be full. You can either take on everybody or you could kind of be choosy or try to recruit good people to live in your apartment because you want good people. Getting zinc would be like trying to get good people in your apartments as opposed to just letting anybody come in and move in because the apartments are going to fill up. You're going to fill up with copper or zinc or cadmium. And if you don't fill up with zinc, you're going to absorb those other things. Like if you're driving around in your car every day, car exhaust, you're going to be breathing it. It's got cadmium in it. So you're going to be exposed to these things. If you eat plant foods at all, you're going to be exposed to copper. That's just the way it is. Okay, so then let's keep going. It's not to be scared of zinc, but also don't overdose zinc. So I want you to pay attention. One of the things we do here is we work on excessive calcium on hair tests, and we especially work on getting your magnesium to the right level relative to your calcium, which we would call the calcium-magnesium ratio. So we want a good calcium-magnesium ratio, and we don't want excess calcium. And we fix fertility. So what do you think you're going to find in this study? The association between calcium, magnesium, and ratio of calcium, magnesium in seminal plasma and sperm quality. Did I not highlight this one either? Dang. Let me see. Calcium concentration and calcium to magnesium ratio were negatively associated with sperm concentrations. This is inverse. That's what they mean. So high calcium, lower sperm concentrations. High calcium to magnesium ratio, so more calcium than you want to magnesium, is associated with lower sperm concentrations. What do we fix what does vitamin A do to your calcium concentrations? It sucks calcium out of your bone and the calcium in your blood goes up. What does vitamin D rat poison supplements do to your calcium? It sucks calcium out of your bone, or it sucks it out of your diet, puts it into the blood, and then you have higher calcium in your blood. What is eating excessive calcium going to do like from dairy? It's going to put more calcium in there, and there's vitamin A and vitamin D in all dairy, and it's going to raise the calcium in your blood, and it's also going to pull it out of your bones. It's also going to calcify things like your testicles, guys. So yeah, you want to fix this. This is just another thing that we fix. Moving on. I'll probably just do the title of this one. What do we like around here? Soluble fiber. 2 tolerance. What's the title of this study? The improvement of semen quality by dietary fiber intake is positively related with gut microbiota and short-chain fatty acids in a boar model. Fiber feeds your gut biome, and fiber makes it can be digested by gut bacteria to turn into short-chain fatty acids, which feeds your gut cells. Apparently it improves semen quality too. Why would it do this? Because fiber absorbs toxins. Not only is it helping your gut bacteria to be better, but it adsorbs toxins that you then poop out. That's that. Now, I'm not going to go over a bunch of studies here because we all know we love zinc. So this is the search I did. So I'm just going to go over the search. You guys can look these up if you want. Oh, role of zinc in female reproduction. An adequate supply of zinc is necessary for the egg to form a fertilization-competent egg, as a dietary zinc deficiency or chelation of zinc disrupts the maturation and reduces the egg quality. What did we just say that copper and vitamin A did? They screwed this all up. What do you need zinc to protect you against and to help you detox? Vitamin A and copper. Okay. Marginal, so just a barely zinc deficiency in mice increase the number of abnormal sperm and alter the expression levels of spermatogenesis related genes. Okay. Lack of zinc, bad sperm. Effects of zinc deficiency on impaired spermatogenesis and male infertility. Zinc is necessary for the normal function of the male reproductive system and spermatozoa. The effect of zinc supplementation, so taking zinc, improves sperm parameters in infertile diabetic men. But what do they want to do with your zinc? They want to give you copper with it. So they poison you. So they poison the well. Oh, why do they not talk about it? The many roles for zinc in the male reproductive system are extremely complex and scarcely understood. Mechanisms of damage to sperm structure in mice on the zinc deficient diet. Gosh, what do you think are 2 things that could cause damage to the sperm that we already went over in detail? Vitamin A and copper. What do you need to protect yourself and to detox? Vitamin A and copper. You need zinc. Relationship between abnormal sperm morphology, that's the bad shape of the sperm, induced by dietary zinc deficiency and lipid composition in the testes of growing rats. So again, it's pretty obvious. Zinc deficiency ruins your sperm. And you need zinc to detox and protect you against copper and vitamin A. Now let's do some quick stuff on bile, because we talk about toxic bile paradigm here. How does the vitamin A and the copper get into your bloodstream to go to your testes, guys, or to go to your reproductive organs? It leaks via your bile, toxic leaky bile, cholestasis, subclinical cholestasis. It's leaking into your bloodstream from your liver, making the bile. The bile leaks into your bloodstream. Okay? That's how it gets there. Now, you may want to watch, if you're new here, you may want to watch my episodes 71 or 53 so you can catch up on toxic bile, what used to be called toxic bile theory. Now it's toxic bile paradigm. Bile acids alter male fertility through G protein coupled bile acid receptor 1 signaling pathways in mice. When they tend to talk about signaling, they're talking about toxicity. That's just a giveaway. If you start seeing signaling, just think, oh, are they talking about something toxic? You don't want bile in your testes, okay? So, these data identify the testes as a new target of bile acids and emphasize TGR5 as a critical element in testicular pathophysiology, the creation of disease. Okay? FXR, activated farnesoid X receptor, is the bile acid receptor. Expressed in human sperm, alters its fertilizing ability. We showed that sperm itself expresses the FXR and is responsive to specific ligands of the receptor. Therefore, bile acids influence this cell both in male and female genital tracts. It may be hypothesized that bile acid levels could be involved in infertility with idiopathic origin. They don't know what's causing it. Well, I'm telling you, toxic bile paradigm says it's toxic bile in your blood and all the things that are in it, like toxic metals, copper, vitamin A, fat-soluble toxins, all that stuff, as these compounds are not systemically measured in men undergoing medically assisted procreation, fertility treatments. Now, what's something that causes you to dump bile, which if you dump bile and you're leaking bile, it leaks into your system, it would cause problems. Well, heat. Heat is one thing that causes you to dump bile. Okay, I'm not saying never go in the heat. I'm saying too much heat. For those of you who may have overdone a sauna or overdone a hot tub or been out in the heat too long, heat makes you feel bad. Well, then you start going, well, why do I feel bad? Because, well, let's say it's not dehydration. That's an easy one. So if it's not dehydration, why do you feel so messed up after you go out in the heat for too long? Because it causes you to dump bile. You leak the bile into your system. Then you just self-poisoned yourself. Okay? Heat stress induced dysbiosis. Where is the first place the bile goes? The bile goes into your gut. The bile is what creates your dysbiosis, your messed up gut biome, because it's washing over it multiple times a day. So dysbiosis of the gut microbiota impairs spermatogenesis by regulating secondary bile acid metabolism in the gut. Secondary bile acids are the most toxic ones. Although I have learned of tertiary, but nobody talks about those because tertiary are probably even more toxic and more rare. So the gut microbiome makes secondary bile acids from the bile that you dump, which can be triggered by heat. You following me? The more toxic your bile is, the more it feeds the wrong gut bacteria, and then the wrong gut bacteria flourish, and they make more toxic secondary bile acids. I don't think there was much on this that I wanted to go over. Just the title said enough. Oh, wait. I think they got this wrong. As we saw before, the research indicated that A. mucinophilia regulated secondary bile acid metabolism by promoting the colonization of bile salt hydrolase metabolizing bacteria, leading to the increase of retinol absorption in the host gut and subsequently elevation of testicular retinoic acid level. Well, after all you've heard today, would you not assume that that would be a bad thing? You should. And then they say, of course, they got to make it look good, thereby improving spermatogenesis. We just went over all sorts of stuff. So they're just assuming that you need retinoic acid to make sperm. No, but you remember that one study I went over earlier where they added retinoic acid and the sperm didn't come back. They were gone. Okay, let's keep going. The effects of long-term exposure to low doses of cadmium on the health of the next generation of mice. I found this one. I wanted to go over. This is like the handing down of toxicity. So if you were unlucky and you were born sick, like if you were born jaundiced, your liver was messed up when you were born. You were leaking bile into your bloodstream when you were born. Jaundice is bilirubin. The other way to say it is bilirubin. You have bilirubin accumulating in your skin because your skin and your body fat are trying to take it out of your blood because it's a problem if you just got too much bile in your blood. Your body's taking the bile out of the blood and storing it where it can because your liver's obviously not doing the job it's supposed to be doing at the time. Was there anything on, I think there was something on sperm in here. So I want you to pay attention here. The present study was performed to evaluate the effects of long-term exposure to 110 or 100 picograms, that's microgram, cadmium in drinking water, then development, reproduction, and neurotoxicity of offspring when administered to mice from when their parents hit puberty to 10 weeks after they were born. Okay? So they're giving these mice doses of cadmium in their water to their parents and to them 10 weeks after they were born. Okay? where was the, they did look at sperm. Okay. The results showed that exposure to cadmium in the present model had no adverse effects on the development, but had some reproductive toxicity and neurotoxicity, including alteration of spermatogenic sperm-creating epithelial staging in testes and inducing anxiety in offspring. Gosh, there's no younger generations that have terrible problems with anxiety today, do they? The present study suggested that long-term exposure to low doses of cadmium had adverse effects on the health of the next generation, and some harmful effects showed gender differences in the offspring. Wasn't there something in... Hold on, let me see. No, this was not the paper. No, okay. So we hand down our toxicity, folks. You are not a clean slate. You were never a clean slate. My dad used to joke. He used to say that when people think that boys and girls aren't different from birth, he's like, you're talking to a person who has never had kids. That was way back. That was before all the woke stuff. But my dad was, before it really got going. My dad was, I thought it was hilarious. He's like, yeah, they obviously have never had a kid of their own in their lives. So cholestasis, this is toxic leaky bile. This is toxic bile paradigm. Cholestasis-associated reproductive toxicity in male and female rats. The fundamental role of mitochondrial impairment and oxidative stress. Don't worry about all that stuff. Just worry about they're leaking toxic bile into their bloodstream, and it's affecting the fertility of both male and female rats. Moreover, so they're saying the bile gets in there, right? So what did they do here? So what they did, bile duct ligation. So they tie off the bile duct, the common bile duct, so the bile can't get into the guts. So it backs up and then it starts blowing holes in things. So it leaks everywhere. Okay. So what happened? Increased serum markers of liver injury. That would be like your liver enzymes, AST, ALT, GGT, LDH, ALK-Phos, bilirubin, and elevated levels of cytotoxic molecules toxic to cells, such as bile acids and bilirubin, were evident in bile duct ligation animals. On the other hand, why is this on the other hand? The serum level of hormones such as testosterone was suppressed in BDL rats. This is all bad. I don't know why they say on the other hand. I guess they're saying these were increased and testosterone was decreased. And what have we shown we fix in men? We help their testosterone levels. What are we showing that decreased testosterone? Oh, I don't know. Vitamin A. Let's just go. Significant histopathological or changes in the actual structure alterations were also evident in the testes and ovaries of bile duct ligated animals. If you didn't know, I've gone over a paper before where they say the authors said subclinical cholestasis, which means they know toxic bile is leaking into the system by their symptoms, has become a normal part of pregnancy these days. So it's normal for women to be leaking bile into their blood, but it's not enough that the doctors can find it. They can just look at their symptoms and say, we know what you have. It just doesn't show up on the blood tests. Look at this. Moreover, mitochondrial depolarization decreased dehydrogenases activity. We talk about dehydrogenases a lot, don't we? And depleted ATP content was detected in sperm isolated from the BDL group. So the sperm aren't going to have enough energy to get to where they go. And finally, mixed probiotics. So they're giving these mice probiotics, modulated gut microbiome. So it changed the gut microbiome to improve spermatogenesis in BPA exposed mice. Sorry, Joe's asking which show has the it's a hard paper to find. Joe, I don't have that right now. You could search subclinical cholestasis pregnancy. That's normal. Subclinical cholestasis, normal pregnancy. If that doesn't work, then I'll have to get searching it myself. But anyway, so So what do the probiotics change? So I was just talking to somebody about this yesterday. The fastest thing that you can do to change the recipe of your bile to potentially improve your symptoms is to change your gut biome. Now, the fastest thing that you could do to make yourself feel worse would be to change your gut biome in the wrong direction. Taking probiotics, okay, I want you guys to do this. Go on Amazon or any other website that sells probiotics and go and read the reviews, but read the good reviews and read the 1-star reviews. And you'll see people saying, this probiotic changed my life. Oh my gosh, I want to take it forever. It was the best thing that ever happened to me. And then you'll read other ones where people will be like, this probiotic gave me irritable bowel syndrome. This probiotic gave me colitis. This probiotic gave me Crohn's. Dead serious. Go do it. How could a gut bacteria cause such different reactions in different people? Because of how it changed their bile. That's it. So if these mice are all very genetically similar. So the same probiotic is going to tend to cause the same thing because they eat the same things. They're from the same genetic lines. They're the same or similar enough. So they give them the right probiotic. It helps fix their bile. Their bile becomes less toxic, which means they're probably leaking less of it's either less toxic bile causing problems or they're leaking less of it. Both are good. And then we see better sperm. Okay. Even though they were all exposed to BPA. So that is that. So I do have a time for a couple questions. I'll try to get through them. Let me get this off my screen and get myself back on the screen so I can see what's going on. Okay, Joe, you can take that down. Okay, so let me go back and look in my Telegram with Joe. Joe, was that Will? The super chat from Will, was that from today? No, that was not from today. Okay, great. Okay, sorry, that was from old one. Okay, Geneva Lamb, I didn't see, did you find that question, Joe? Or from Genevia? I don't know how to, I may have said it wrong. Did that go away? Joe, I didn't see a question with that one. I think it was just a gift. Okay, yeah, so there was no question with Genevia. I don't know how to say it. Genevia or Genevia. I'm sorry if I said it. Hopefully I got it right on one of those. But I guess that was just a gift. So thank you very much for that. We always appreciate the super chats. So let me go and look for the next one. Tara Moo, thank you for your super chat. Let me do this one. Okay, so this is a question. I'm assuming you mean, should I or should someone laparoscopically remove multiple dermoid cysts / endometrioma on ovaries, take the fertility potential hit from surgery damage, or could it be reversed or halted with the Love Your Liver program? Well, this would all be theorizing on what I might do if I was in this situation. The thing about removing cysts, tumors, bags of stuff, or growths, lumps and bumps. The thing about removing them is they are storage tissue. So you are removing some of your stored stuff. You're just physically taking it out. I mean, it'd be like somebody, if you had, I had a family member back in the past who, when he passed away, he died with 3 storage units full of crap. Like, imagine having to go through a man's 60 something years of accumulating stuff. So he had his house stuff and he had 3 storage units full of crap. That was not very fun for the family to go through. Anyway, so they could have just done the storage unit wars or whatever, where they just try to buy all the stuff and then they just give it away. So kind of what they're doing, there may have been something valuable in there, probably not. But anyway, they just gave it away. So the surgery would be just taking those things out. Now, the problem with it is You're also going to be given lots of meds for the surgery. So you're taking in toxicity at the same time as you're removing it. The thing that you could do, like, well, as I'm going to talk about in the women's issues kind of focus article that's coming up in the Love Your Liver program, is there are things you could do. Like an example would be you start doing charcoal and psyllium fiber poultices over your abdomen, like daily or multiple times a day, to just directly try to suck the toxicity out of the that's just straight up out of the tissues. There's that. That would be just like one idea. And we just go, we're like, I mean, we're doing the whole Love Your Liver program, but we are also that's like an addition. That's like, we're directly not attacking, but we're directly assisting the detox of that area. So being that I'm not your doctor and I don't know how pressing your situation is, I can't say which one I would do, but if I was willing to wait, I would always try to avoid surgery unless it's necessary. Sometimes it's necessary. There was, as I mentioned, I mean, a lot of people get messed up from the meds that they took for surgeries. So they were kind of doing a minor surgery, not a huge deal surgery. But then afterwards, like I knew a guy, he got a vasectomy. He said he's pretty sure that the Celebrex they gave him for the surgery caused his IBS. Or how many people get floxed from stuff they take, or they took, the antibiotics messed them up, or the contrast agents that they were doing for the imaging messed them up. Like you go into surgery. Oh, the other thing that you got to watch out for is if you go in for a surgery and they're putting you under, they might just stick you with a pokey while you're under, just because that's what they're trying to do these days. So if I was getting a surgery, I would definitely write on every page of any form, I said, no biologics and an NO to any jabs. That's what I would do. What other people choose to do is up to them. But I would not give them consent to do something to me that I was not agreeing to of conscious mind. Definitely not those things either. So that's the issues with surgeries like that is they're going to give you the local anesthetics. They're going to give you the systemic anesthetics. They're going to give you antibiotics. They're going to give you all sorts of stuff that could jack you up. So you're taking a risk that your liver is going to get more messed up. I can't make that call for you, but I would definitely say whatever you do, the Love Your Liver program is indicated. And with if you've got these things going on, the toxicity level is probably pretty intense. So may the deficiencies. So you may want to work with one of the health facilitators to test and get those addressed as quick as you can. So I hope that helps. Thank you for the super chat. I think I saw Joe put up, Genevia. She said, "Hi, Dr. Smith. My son is 16 years old and he is very keen to build more muscles fast." Okay, well, let's go over one of the biggest times, and I'm guessing some of you men who are listening to this who used to be, or maybe you guys have just gotten over this stage of your lives. Men, when they're younger, right? We look at I remember when I was a kid, you'd look at bodybuilding magazines and you'd look at nowadays they're looking at the social media influencers. They're all on steroids, basically. And everybody wants to look like that. And the 16-year-olds are the most influenced because they're just getting into liking the opposite sex and all that stuff. And they also have often self-esteem issues during those years, particularly badly. But a lot of us, including me, started messing ourselves up when we were teenagers and we decided we wanted to get big and swole. Like that's when we started taking shady supplements, started doing dumb things to just try to get bigger. Like aesthetics does not equal health. Okay, so you have to understand what this means. So like, why is everybody getting duped? Because all these social media influencers look good while they're doing unhealthy things. Is it going to bite them in the ass eventually? Yes, absolutely. But who do we like? We like to look at people, right? We're a very vain species. I mean, it's normal in nature to, appearance means something. But the problem is like, we all know that, I mean, how do people win the Olympics and how do people become social media influencers? Well, they take drugs and those drugs are bad for them. So, but they look good. So see, we know they're falling apart on the inside, but they look good. So this is why we say aesthetics does not automatically imply health. How to gain weight. Well, so if you have somebody who is chronically underweight, I've been over this on a bunch of shows. Chronic trouble gaining weight, especially if somebody is unhealthy, means their liver is messed up. I call it an undertype. Those people need to fix their liver so they can gain good weight. That's just the way it is. Now, it's really difficult for teenage boys, especially because their metabolisms are running so fast and they got so much just energy, and often they're doing so many things that it's just hard for them to eat enough to gain weight. I mean, one of the things I did that messed me up was I tried to do the 20 rep squat routine, which is one big set of 20 rep squats 3 days a week. And you might do some dips and some pull-ups with it, but that was the workout. It was like, you warm up for the squats, you do one set of 20 rep squats, breathing squats. You had to do at least 3 deep breaths in between each rep. So you're under that weight for a long time. I did it for a month. I think I got up to about, over time I got up to about 245 pounds for that breathing squat, which is not, I'm not bragging. It's not terrible, but it's not anything amazing. I'm sure sad little people on the internet are now going to try to disparage me with it. Go ahead, whatever. I was like 17. So go ahead. I was playing high school baseball. Anyway, but I was doing half a gallon of milk a day. So I wasn't doing quite the GOMAD diet, the gallon of milk a day diet, because my mom just wasn't going to buy that much milk. So I was eating 3 square meals a day and then a half a gallon of milk a day. In between all that, I gained 15 pounds in a month, because that was all I was doing. I was just doing the one set of squats, one heavy set of squats, and then maybe 1 or 2 sets of dips and pull-ups. And I wasn't playing baseball and I wasn't doing all the other stuff where I'm burning calories. So I was not using that much energy and I was putting in more calories. But did I get fat in that month? Yeah, of course. You drink a lot of milk. I mean, milk is designed to put on weight, whether it's good weight or bad weight. It's vitamin A, vitamin D, tons of calcium. So I probably lost I probably lost 10 pounds of that just going back to normal. So I still gained 5 pounds, but I lost 10 pounds of the 15 I gained. I did that again, I think the next summer or something, and I only gained 10 pounds, and then I lost 5 of that again. So, I mean, the biggest thing that it's training, doing it, training right, not overtraining, because, they have these huge metabolisms. So if you train an excessive amount and you have a huge metabolism, the amount of food you have to eat is obscene. And the more food you eat, the more stress you're putting on your liver, because your liver has to process all that food. So I don't tend to get into making guys swole, just like I don't want to get into weight loss. I am here to make people healthy. If I wanted to be a bodybuilding guru, I mean, I learned so much about steroids and hormones when I was in naturopathic medical school, because I thought I was going to go into TRT. So back then you had to kind of study on, steroid boards and stuff like that. And once I was getting close to being out of school, I was like, I don't want to do this. This is insanity. So, but what's the easiest way to gain weight? Muscle. I mean, just do steroids. Everybody on Twitter now, the guys who are just like, instead of spending $500 a month on all these stupid supplements, they're like, just take testosterone. And I'm kind of looking at it going, in a very true way, they're right. They're like, you may pay $100 a month for your injectable test. You got to pay for the doctor's visits and other stuff. But I mean, it's like, it works. You don't want to take that as a teenager. You'll jack things up forever. But, you can always, the things that quote unquote work short-term cause problems long-term. The things that work long-term are slow and tedious, and you must be consistent, and you're not going to get anywhere near the drug guys. That's just the way it is. So no, it's eating enough food and training enough to stimulate muscle without burning too many calories by doing it. But I can't give anybody like a program here. Those are the basics of it. Eat enough. Don't lift, but don't lift too much. There you go. There's your fancy recipe. Okay. So Zachariah, you did your question. Let me see. Okay. Zachariah is asking, is there only one way for bile to get in the stomach? Bile being toxic and paralyzing the muscles that close. Okay. Chris Unhurted said electrolytes unnecessary. Then no, Chris, you need to go watch my topical magnesium show. You need to go watch my potassium episode. You need to go watch. Electrolytes are very important. Salt is pretty easy. Salt your food to taste. And get a clean salt. That's it. Most people don't get enough potassium relative to sodium. That's the problem. So there's that. Then we have, okay, how does bile get in the stomach? Okay, so yes, it can come backwards from the liver. It goes from the liver to the bile ducts and then comes back up into the stomach. That's the classic way, right? Like when people say they vomited and they know they vomited bile, like it's yellow and it's bitter and it's nasty. That's bile coming up into their stomach. Or like when people do the frog poison combo and then they vomit for 3 hours and then they say they feel better after it because they were vomiting bile for 3 hours. They took a poison to do it, but they're vomiting bile for 3 hours. And then afterwards they say, I feel better for a while. And then the problems would come back. Why did the problems come back? Because they're still toxic. They didn't fix the root cause of it. They're just trying to vomit out bile. It's kind of like the whole coffee enema thing and the whole like gallbladder cleanse. And they're just trying to get bile out of them in a rapid fashion. We prefer to do it in a slower, more gradual fashion because those things can cause problems. Like you could tear your esophagus vomiting that much. I think somebody told me that their mom kind of jacked themselves up because they were vomiting so hard. And I'm like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to recommend that. I'm not going to recommend people drink a quarter cup of oil and Epsom salts to shit their brains out. I'm not going to do that. That's just not my approach. You want to do that? Go ahead. Maybe it works sometimes. Maybe you jack yourself up. Apparently, I think Zendog was posting a Reddit thread of people doing the liver gallbladder cleanses and effing themselves up pretty good. So you want to do that? I mean, I have a whole show on it. You can go watch it. But anyway, the other thing, there's a paper that I don't know the paper right now, but it talks about how bile can get into your intestines and cause diarrhea and inflammatory bowel diseases. So think about it. If you leak bile into your bloodstream, the bile is in your bloodstream. I mean, that's what we're saying. So then there are blood vessels that feed your intestines. They keep your intestines alive, right? So you want to think of your intestines as like there's blood vessels. I was trying to look for something I could use as a prop. There's blood vessels that go to and from your intestines that are there to feed your intestines and to take away, bring in oxygen, remove carbon dioxide, like to feed them with all the stuff that the blood feeds them with. Okay. So those are like the maintenance, like to keep the intestines alive blood flow. Then there's the blood vessels that go to the portal vein. That is how you absorb nutrients from your food. So the portal system is what absorbs the nutrients and toxins too. Don't ever think that your intestines don't absorb toxins. They absorb toxins really well too. Just like your lungs. Your lungs do the breathing for you, but they also absorb toxins. This is why we want to not try to be exposed to toxins because We absorb tons of stuff. We're really good at it. So the stuff that goes to your liver is the nutrients and stuff like that. But the blood that's feeding your intestines has bile in it and all the toxins in it. So this paper was talking about how those things can actually penetrate into your intestine. Because, I mean, that's what's feeding your intestinal cells. Just like your saliva is made of your blood. You know, your blood creates your saliva. So your saliva is going to have a lot of things that are in your blood. Well, if you've got a bunch of vitamin A in your blood or a bunch of yellow toxic bile, those things are yellow, then you can stain your teeth because the saliva that is marinating them every day is yellow. It's yellow enough that it's putting the yellow on your teeth. And this is why people over time on the Love Your Liver program, at the start, sometimes their teeth get a little more yellow because they're pumping more bile and they're getting rid of the vitamin A, but it goes into their blood and their teeth are getting soaked in that saliva. Over time, as we detox them, there's less of those toxins in their blood, which means there's less of those toxins in their saliva, which means their teeth start to go back to the normal white that they wanted. Is this a quick process? No. But is that how it works? That's the theory. That's what we observe one thing and then we create a theory about it. So, yeah, you could get bile into your stomach from your bloodstream that feeds the stomach, just like we were talking about the intestines, or bile directly going back up in there. So yes, to both. Okay, so then we have, let's see, I think we did that. Okay, Bonjo says, what's your, no more super chats, please. Bonjo says, what's your take on the pullout method? Does it work after becoming dangerously fertile? That's my term for what we do. Joshua Lysick, I think I came up with it, and Joshua Lysick, the ghostwriter, really liked it. Does it work after becoming dangerously fertile? Did it ever work? I know you talked about the rhythm method. Hold on, let me just do a quick, let me see. I just wanted to see if there's anything. I think it looks like they call it withdrawal, or hold on, this will just be funny. Okay. Pull and pray or extra protection. Contraceptive strategies involving withdrawal among U.S. adult women. Okay, so here's the simple reality of the pullout method. Like, right, you're trying to take the bullets out of the gun. From what I understand, I'm just going to say it, pre-cum has some sperm in it. That's the way I understand it. Could it be wrong? Sure. However, in theory, the pre-ejaculate could potentially get a woman pregnant. Now, obviously, that's a little BB compared to like the shotgun of the actual normal ejaculation. So you're saying there's a chance. Yeah, I'm saying there's a chance that you could, if somebody got, let's say, dangerously fertile and they start making more pre-ejaculate, then that increase, and they're making more and better sperm, the risk goes up. Remember, health is fertility. So if we make you healthier, you're going to be more fertile, which means, like the 40-year-old lady we had, her and her husband messed up once on their prevention techniques and they were pregnant. So what does this say? Okay, so the results, let's see. This sounds kind of bad. Among women at risk of unintended pregnancy, 13% reported that withdrawal was the most effective method used in the last 30 days. How? So if they get to 30 days and they go, well, I'm not pregnant. So, okay, so this is effective, but what about the 87%? I don't know. But 33% had used withdrawal at least once. Most women who used withdrawal had also used a hormonal, so they're using a secondary or long-acting method, or condoms in the last 30 days, and a minority reported using only withdrawal. Younger women, women in dating relationships, and women strongly motivated to avoid pregnancy had some of the highest levels of dual use of withdrawal with condoms or highly effective methods. I mean, obviously, if you were to use condoms, you have another layer of protection. If you were to pull out and use condoms, you really don't have much of a risk. I'm not going to say, that like, I don't know, pull out you're taking a risk with it. Basically, the simple rule is, like we say, if you wouldn't eat it, don't put it on your skin. Well, it would be like, if you don't want to have a kid, then maybe don't have sex. That's kind of, you can't argue with that equation. So, but yeah, we're going to be making, if you're doing our stuff, you're going to be more healthy, you're going to be more fertile. So you're going to be more dangerous if that's the way you choose to think about it. Yes. It is what it is. Okay, so Headwood, sorry, thank you for the super chat, Bonjo. Headwood, thank you for the super chat, says, thoughts on eating sorghum to help with DHT production and therefore gradual recovery of testosterone and bolstering fertility. I haven't tested my DHT, but I've been doing anywhere from a half a cup dry to a cup dry of sorghum a lot of days because of this whole DHT thing that it supposedly does. So supposedly, folks, sorghum increases 5-alpha reductase activity, which means it may increase your conversion of testosterone to DHT. The thing I'm going to say about sorghum is don't get the red sorghum, don't get the black sorghum, don't get the sorghums that have more color because they're full of carotenoids or vitamin A. They've got more of that stuff in them. That's what gives them the color. So don't do those. I forget the name of the company, but there's a company that sells a big 25-pound bag, 50-pound bag of sorghum on Amazon, something milling company. That's who I got mine from. Do I know if it's working? No, I don't. I tend to have a pretty good libido regardless. So I can't say that I notice anything about it. And there's been a lot of weird stuff. So I've only been doing it regularly for, really regularly for maybe a month and a half. And for those of you who follow office hours and other things in the Love Your Liver program, there's been a ton of like astrological things. There was like, I could be wrong on some of these, but there was supposedly like a lunar eclipse, a solar eclipse. There was the worm moon, which was also a blood moon. There was and I'm not into astrology. I'm just saying, for those of you who are, there was supposedly like Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde. There was multiple geomagnetic storms on the sun. There was the full moon was there. There was, and one guy was pointing out, he's kind of interesting on Twitter, Red Pill Drifter. He was showing that there was a lot of HARP activity going on. So if you felt bad in the last month and a half, and you were trying to figure out why, there was a ton of stuff going on. Space weather, the moon, whatever else you believe in terms of astronomical and astrological stuff. And then there was potentially the HARP stuff. It was stirring up stuff. Maybe you guys noticed, like, people around you, yourself, your kids, people were feeling bad or acting weird or more angry. It was going on. I don't care if anybody believes in that stuff or not. When you know about it and you start to watch it, you see the patterns happen. So if you had more issues in the last month or month and a half, there's that. So I'm trying not to judge where I'm getting at with that is it definitely affected me. It definitely affected my mood. I mean, I knew two people who live in completely different parts of the country, or three, who threw up the same day. Like, it was, and I didn't feel good that night either, but I didn't throw up. So there's definitely some weird stuff going on. So what I'm saying is I'm not judging the sorghum effect on me based on that. Barley also has shown, there's a study on barley water increasing testosterone. So if you wanted to work on testosterone with grains, I can't find any beans that raise testosterone, but grains, sorghum, and or barley would be the best choices. Even I do a mix of the two of them. So in my prison slop, as I call it, which I need to post the recipe to the Love Your Liver program. But anyway, yeah, so that's I think trying sorghum, seeing how it goes, is a good idea. But supposedly the amount is you have to eat, what was it, 100 grams a day, they were saying. I think a quarter cup of sorghum is like 48 grams. That's dry. So then cooking it would add all that water. I don't know. Anyway. So yeah, but do you need to change everything to sorghum? I don't think so, but it may help. It may help. So I hope that helps. Oh, Hedwood said I've been regularly eating it 1 cup cooked sorghum a day. Yeah, so I'm cooking some days a cup of dry sorghum. So that probably makes 2.5 cups. Some days I only eat half of it. Some days I eat all of it. Yeah. No, Thief on the Cross says absolute carnage the last 2 months. Yeah, see, this is where the people who pay attention to this stuff, like I was really, as I was going through this, I was, sometimes I'd be like, oh yeah, stuff is going on. And sometimes I'd be like, why do I feel this way? This doesn't make any sense. And that's for me, when I know it doesn't make any sense, I start going, okay, there's something weird going on. And then, I have different people who watch different things. And like Sarah told me about the full moon. And then Kelsey told me about some of the astronomical and astrological stuff, which I'd also heard there was some big planetary alignment, like at the end of February. And I was just like, it's too much for me to keep track of. All I know is people aren't feeling good. And what we were hoping for and what I think is happening, for those of you who are paying attention to this, I think it's kind of passing now. I think it's moving on. People are starting to feel better. They're coming out of it. So anyway, that's Bonjo was saying cafe de orzo. Yeah, that's barley, roasted barley tea or coffee. You can make it into a coffee. And there was the rice, the barley water was a different thing. The barley water was like cooking the barley in water, boiling it, and then I believe straining off the barley and just drinking the water. So I forget what that was called. Talbina. I don't know. Talbina, on the internet, it's an Islamic dish, but it's just boiled barley, and you can either eat the whole thing or you can just do the water, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, so that's that. Oh, Bonjo was saying I was very low energy in this period. It checks out. It's, when people are paying attention, and I tend to bring these things up, like in office hours, I'd bring it up and people are like, oh yeah, I feel like crap and I feel like crap and I feel like crap. And I'm like, yeah, and it's going to pass. It is what it is. At least we have something that we can like fall back on and go, yeah, it's not, I'm not doing anything wrong. I always tell people, I'm like, yeah, you're not doing anything wrong. It's just stuff is happening and you're paying more attention to your body now. So you notice it. And I said, just think about all the other people out there who have no idea why they feel bad. First of all, they don't know what they're doing to make themselves feel bad, but they also don't know when they get worse, what's causing it. Because they'll be like, oh yeah, the moon can't cause problems with people on the earth. And I go, it's in the research. It's actually in the research that the full moon, there's like more hospitalizations, more heart attacks. It's in the research. And nurses, like, for those of you who worked in hospitals, like nurses know that like when there's a full moon, there's more violence going on. There's more crazy people coming into the ER. Like it's real. So that's that. So, okay. So we're going to get to, so this is all we got on. Oh, no. Wait. One more thing. This was just kind of cool that I was looking through the research and I found this. So Joe, you can share this. So I was looking up magnesium and sperm production, right? So that's how I got to these papers. And I was just like, wait, I saw a pattern of titles and I was like, wow, this is really interesting. So these guys did this study, magnesium in human semen, possible role in premature ejaculation. Okay, not what I went looking for, but found something interesting. So there were normal serum and semen levels of all the elements that they checked for. What did they look at? Zinc, magnesium, zinc, copper, and selenium in 3 groups, but significantly lower seminal plasma magnesium levels in men with premature ejaculation. Okay. They theorize as to what it is. And then again, we have another paper, seminal plasma magnesium and premature ejaculation, a case control study. So is this the same guy? No, they're different guys. What do we have here? Seminal plasma magnesium levels in the study patients, as in the people who were the men who were suffering from premature ejaculation, were significantly lower than they were in controls. But there were no such differences regarding serum magnesium levels. So their blood magnesium levels were not that different, but there was less magnesium in the ejaculate. Semen to serum magnesium ratio was significantly lower in patients with premature ejaculation. Also, a reverse relationship between body mass index and genuine premature ejaculation was found. So higher body mass index. Well, I don't know how they're saying that. Genuine premature ejaculation. I don't know. Anyway, genuine premature ejaculation has a significant relationship with decreased levels of seminal plasma magnesium. Further studies are needed to clarify the actual role of magnesium in the physiology of the male reproductive tract, especially its association with premature ejaculation. So what are we going to do? Oh, sorry, Joe. Joe wants the links. So demanding, Joe. Dang. Kidding. There they are. Okay, so anyway, let's say you're a man out there and you're having issues with this. Somebody says, well, what would I do? Well, first of all, you need magnesium. So if you haven't seen my topical magnesium show, live stream, you should go watch that. Topical magnesium, in my opinion, is 10 times better at raising systemic magnesium levels than pills. Okay. I'll hit on, Sebastian, I'll hit on your question in just 1 second. So let's say, so when you have an issue in a certain area, like let's say somebody has an issue with premature ejaculation. Okay. What we might do, or what they could do, I mean, is when you have problems in a certain area, putting topical magnesium on that area can help. Okay, so if like you didn't have enough magnesium in your ejaculate, you could put magnesium, guess where? You could put it down on your reproductive organs, guys. I will tell you that we've had multiple guys give feedback on this. The only problem with it is if you do it before bed, you get very sweaty down there. You're just going to be like super sweaty. I think it happens with magnesium oil too, if I recall correctly. So you're going to get super sweaty, but you would get more magnesium in there. So what could you do if you don't want that? You just put the magnesium on elsewhere and it's going to get there because you're raising systemic magnesium. But if you wanted more of an immediate effect, like you're like, I've had this problem for years and I want it to go away, then you could try the direct. The more you do systemic, like I do my back, I tend to do my back and my upper arms, my 2 pumps a day, but you could do your 2 pumps a day to raise your systemic levels, and then you could apply some extra in the areas where you could use it most. So, magnesium lotion that can be found in our store. It's actually probably our best seller. So people love it. And yeah, get yours today. It's good stuff. Only took 18 months or 20 months to formulate. So anyway, oh, Trusty Rusty says the LYL program fixed his prematurity issue completely. It was a lifelong issue. So this is the cool thing. So thank you for, Trusty, thank you for that testimonial, because I know a lot of guys out there, you know, they almost feel like admitting that they had issues is a problem because they feel like less manly because of it. And it is much easier to admit it once it's gone, right? It's much easier to say, oh, I used to have that problem and now I don't. That's obviously much easier to do. But guys, if you have problems with function of any sort, yes, a huge part of it is this. Don't ever forget that. Don't ever forget that a huge part of it is up there. Men, for us to function, you know, you have to have parasympathetic to actually relax to be able to do the job, and then sympathetic, the more fight or flight is the finishing. So imagine if you're too fight or flight in the beginning, then you would tend to be overstimulated and finish too fast. So the nervous system is a huge part of it. But what does magnesium also help to do? Magnesium helps to calm you down. So there we have a connection to it. Okay. So, Zendog was saying, which head are you thinking with? That's right. You don't think with the wrong head. That's a bad idea. But okay, we're going to wrap this up. I got to get to the inner circle now. I hope you all enjoyed that. So this was just part 1 of the Infertility PSYOP series. I have no idea of how many episodes we're going to have. No idea. Because I'm going to hit on quercetin and methylene blue and ivermectin and HCQ, and I'm going to hit on all these things. The other ones will probably be faster. Or what was it, like febendazole or mebendazole had damaged sperm in turkeys. But there's nothing on humans yet. I wonder why they wouldn't have that yet. But just remember, they want to get the guys now. They got the women more so with the pokies. They're coming after the guys. They're coming after your testosterone levels. They're coming after your sperm. And they're going to make you pay for it, which is almost more offensive than giving it away for free, in my opinion. They're going to make you pay to sterilize yourself. And think of the people will say, well, that one study isn't good. That one thing is not enough. And that other thing is not enough. Well, if you're doing multiple things. Oh, Sebastian. Okay. So I'll get to that one. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. If you're doing multiple things, these things are synergistically toxic. Like when they had lead and cadmium together, like it was something like 5 times more toxic than if they just had one of them alone. So toxins synergize. So anti-fertility agents would synergize. It only makes sense. Okay, so Sebastian Koch, this is pretty simple. He was wondering where semen retention would fit in all of this. So semen retention is only men can do it. You're not ejaculating. So there are people out there who say they are orgasming without ejaculating. There are people out there who just don't finish. There are people out there who just, they're like, I'm not going to have sex ever. I'm not ever going to ejaculate. And so they don't ever do any sexual activity. There's all sorts of ways to get to semen retention. Semen retention just means you're not losing it. Okay? By hook or by crook. It's just not coming out. So what would this tend to do? Well, the simplest thing, do I think that it, like the Twitter accounts where they're like, it'll make you superhuman? I'm like, no. So what does it do? It definitely, making all those sperm is a lot of biological work. You're making like millions of little cells with, moving parts and all that stuff. So it's a lot of biological work. There's also the materials needed to make it. The raw materials you need to make the sperm. We were talking earlier, zinc and magnesium. Zinc is very high in ejaculate. Magnesium, low magnesium in it leads to premature ejaculation. Why that is, I don't know, but just you're wasting less, so you're not wasting nutrients. Now, we talked about earlier, ejaculate could be a way to detox. So for guys who are like constantly, it's almost like, how do I put this? It's almost like they get ejaculate on the brain, like they have to get it out. That's probably a toxicity response. Because as a younger man, I definitely had that. And now I don't. And it's not that I lack libido. It's that there's just not that urge. Like some of you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. And there'll be haters out there who are trying to mock this. That's fine. They're probably living in their parents' basement, doing it themselves 5 times a day anyway. Because they're toxic as heck. So anyway. Thank you, Boncho. He said, God grant you strength, Dr. Smith. I'm just here. One of the reasons I know people like me is because I'll say the stuff that other people won't say. So anyway, But yeah, so it's a way of detox. So if people like have this urge that they have to get it out, like it's almost like internally driven, that may be a toxicity thing. If you don't have that, I mean, guys realize you can have sex and not ejaculate and it's okay. You don't have to do that every time. We've also been conditioned into that via porn. And then, well, what do they want to do? Do they want men to be good or do they want men to be weak? I'm pretty sure I know what they want. And losing that too often would be bad for you long term, especially if somebody wasn't supplementing. Like if you're not getting enough zinc and you do that too much, you're going to be zinc deficient very, very quick. So would semen retention help nutritionally? Yes. Might it help mentally because you're just resisting the animal urges? Sure. Is it going to make you Superman? Probably not. Might you take that energy that you used to put into that in a bad way and put it into better things? Sure. Absolutely. Yes, we got to put our energy into something. So you can either waste it or you can use it for something good. So that's my take on it. My relatively, more neutral, like nothing crazy out there take. You are welcome, Jackie. And Bonjo says this live stream has been dirty. I mean, I guess we're talking about fertility here. So kind of got to talk about stuff like that. That's if you want to help guys with it. But yeah, just remember, definitely for male function, it's definitely a lot up here, but toxicity absolutely affects that. If you don't understand how toxicity and detox can affect things and mindset can affect things, hey, you might want to go watch the live stream I did recently with Beth. That's a pretty good one because that plays into all of this too. So, okay, I'm done. I'm going to wrap it up now. So anyway, so Joe will do all the links and all that stuff. So if you want to find more from me, nutritiondetective.com is the main website. That's where you can find testing and consultation with one of our health facilitators. We have the line of clean supplements. We have a couple of new supplements coming out. We just had the molybdenum glycinate come out. Super clean capsules. We're working on the liquid. We're working on all the liquids. Yeah, I'm not going to say that because Julie will get mad at me. We have the vitamin K capsules are on their way. MK4, which of course is the type that other people don't tend to use, which is just the way I do things. We've got other stuff coming. I'm working on new products. Really want to work on the tooth powder with Kelsey and get that going. We may make tablets, like chewable tablets, so that they can be done that way. That's going to be super exciting. Kelsey's working on her soap that we're going to be offering. And, yeah, it's going to be lots of cool stuff. So you can't, some of those things I mentioned are already like the molybdenum's there. Some of those other new things, they're coming. Go check out the store. If you are a Love Your Liver member, the Love Your Liver program is my do-it-yourself program. And that is at members.nutritiondetective.com. You can also find it at the normal website and find a link there. That is the do-it-yourself program. That is where we have the network of people, the community of people, and you can go there and you can get the Love Your Liver program. You can talk to other people. And you also do get a discount. You get a discounted rate. You get access to our special VIP store on supplements. Then there is obviously this YouTube channel. We have a Rumble channel. You want to like and subscribe to both of those, please do. We're like 10,600 subscribers. So we're rapidly getting up to the next 1,000, as well as we can with, potential suppression. Anyway, there's that. Then there's on Twitter, NutriDetect, NutriDetect. That's where you can find me on Twitter, where I post a lot of this stuff. And I turned a lot of my tweets into today's episode. So you can kind of see them as they assemble there. Oh my gosh, you guys. The stuff I've been doing on copper and cancer lately, outrageous. It's just one of the biggest things that probably causes cancer is copper toxicity. They said copper was a rate-limiting nutrient in the growth of cancer. Copper was a rate-limiting nutrient in the growth of cancer. So they mean that if the cancer didn't have enough copper, it didn't grow well. Wait. And then they say, oh, tons of cancers have tons of copper in them, and people with cancer have higher blood copper than people without. And I'm like, why isn't anybody else putting this together? I don't know. Anyway, thank you, Sebastian. Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe and all that stuff. Anyway, we will see you all next time. Have a great week. Bye now.